me. Okay, here we go. Now we're good. And we're live everywhere. So here's what we're doing today. And I'm just going to check out and make sure that my recording worked. We are going to unbox and set up the new Apple Watch. This is the Series 6. And I forgot how long I've had the current one for. So I bought the first Apple Watch back in 2015, which is 5 years ago. That was the first watch. It's still over there. That one was horribly slow, but it was kind of the minimally viable product. It was very similar to like the first generation iPhone. And it's gotten better over the years, and better and better and better. And so I went from that Series 0 watch to this one, which is this is a Series, what is it, Series 4. So this one is 2 years old. And I'm just checking out the live stream here to make sure it's all working. So this one's 2 years old. And I typically don't upgrade my Apple Watches because they all seem to work pretty well. So I haven't really had a need to do an update. And I'm just checking out my, let me see, refresh title, view log. I'm trying out a whole bunch of stuff today too, by the way, so bear with me. I'm just trying to get, I've been using this vMix Social, and I'm pointing it at the live stream we're doing right now, and it's supposed to let me pull up your chats in real time, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to have to, actually, I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep playing with this and see what happens here. It just doesn't seem to be working, so I probably will not be using that. But I buy an Apple Watch like every 2 years, or at least that's the cadence. Although the first one I had for 3 years, but this one I'm upgrading from the 4 to the 6 because the 6 now has a new health sensor. So whenever they add a new health sensor, that's when I do an upgrade. Now the 6 here, and from what I'm reading, it's not been going well so far. But the 6 here has a pulse ox sensor, which is a new feature. And so we're going to try that out and see how it works. And we're also going to set it up. And I'm going to do, while we're doing the stream here today, I am going to do a how-to video as to how to set one up. So I figure we'll kill two birds with one stone. That's what we're going to do. So that is the plan. Who do we have here today? We have TW116, we have Thomas, Finn, John, and yeah, that's it so far. That's okay. More people will come. And some people just don't like the Apple stuff, and that's okay. But I like my Apple stuff, and I like my Windows stuff, and I like my Linux stuff. I like it all because I do this for a living. So that is why I like all these things. But I'm really bummed out this vMix Social is not working, because I think it'd be so cool. So what I could do is, if it was working, whenever you leave a chat, I can do something like this and like pull up your name and your little picture and what you're chatting about. And I have no way of doing that at the moment because it's not connecting to my YouTube account properly. I'm going to try to do one more connection to it and see if I can coax it to work. And if it doesn't work, we're just going to get started. Because I see some people are piling into the Amazon chat. They're looking to see me unbox some of this stuff. I'm going to turn this other stuff off here. Let's turn this back on. Oh, see now, okay, now it just found stuff. So I just turned it back on and it found 11 chats, but it's not loading them into my queue. View all. Let's see, let me try this again. Because it's found 11. There's been 11 chats so far today. So why doesn't it show me them? View log. So update, 11 new entries, 11 total. And so if I could figure this out, I think it'd be really cool to have this like work as a little feature, which I think would be awesome, but it's just not finding them. So I'm going to do a search here real quick and see if any of you are showing up. Yeah, it's just not pulling them in. So it says it pulled them in, but it doesn't have anything that it's picking up here. So if I turn it off, and I turn it back on again. I'm wondering if I'm doing it wrong. That could be what it is. Because I want to do this thing, because I think it'd be really cool. So if I turn that off, I saw my screen. Oh, there it goes. Okay, now it's working. Okay, hang on a second, folks. it's almost like the commands here are reversed. So now, oh, this is cool. Okay, so now they're coming in. That's so weird because I have on the control panel here, it's set to off. But for some reason now they're all coming in. Weird, 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 weird. Okay, so now, here, let's see if we can get one of these to work here. So, yeah, here we go. So Thomas, so I'm going to pull Thomas's up here. I'm going to send it to vMix. And now, if I hit the button here, see that? Thomas is from Norway. I am from Connecticut. Isn't that cool? And then I could grab somebody else's here as they come in. So if you keep chatting, let's see if another one comes in here. So I could say hello, and then if I go back to my social thing here, it should refresh here in a second. At least it's supposed to. Yep, there I am. So then I could say send, and that would change it to mine. And then Finn here. Isn't that cool? So this is a new feature. Well, actually, it's not a new feature. It's something that's been in vMix forever. But oddly enough, is that on my screen right now, on my vMix screen, I have the feature set to off. And for oh, you know what it is? I'm the problem here. Let me show you what I'm looking at. I totally figured this out. So if this is like so rudimentary, but bear with me. So here is what vMix Social looks like. And so I had it, so when it's green, it's on, and then you click the button to turn it off. And that's why these things weren't coming through. So that's what was happening there. And then you can't see this, but I have it here. I can load it up on, can I load it up on here? Maybe not. I don't want to mess up with it. Yeah, let's just try it. So if I click view, so let me go to view here, and I'll pull up a little web page. I'll show you what it looks like on my end. So if I go, let me change this. So let me go to display 1. Here, I'll pull up my Edge browser. I think it's going to show you. No, that didn't show you anything, did it? Hang on. Let me go display 1. There we go. Okay, so if I go to my Edge browser here, and I'll pull this up real quick. So I'll pull up the title, right? So we have Finn up there, and then if I go through the browser here, I could send Nick's comment over. And isn't that cool? I think this is cool. It's a great way to engage with people because what happens a lot of times, especially if you're on if you're on Amazon, you're not like you would see this if you were in YouTube, but if you're on Amazon watching, you can't see the same stuff. So this is how it works here, and I can just pull up people's stuff here. It's really cool. And then it puts a little green thing next to the person I'm talking to. Oh, I just turned you off here. Let me put the screen back up so you can see what I'm looking at. So as I click on these things, isn't that cool? That is neat. And then I could search the queue here too. So if I wanted to, for example, if I wanted to see just what Finn has written, I can search for Finn. Isn't that cool? So that's really neat. This is built into to vMix. So that's what you just saw there. Okay, so I think we are ready to unbox this thing. And on Amazon, I see Gracie has joined us, and Gracie has the gold one. So it's good stuff. I'm going to totally be like addicted to this thing. And then I have a queue that I can use on here too. So I'm not sure how the queue works. So the queue, if I go to view the queue, I can actually grab comments. And this might be a good task for my producer to do. So they could queue up comments. And then if I go to the queue, I could see just what I have queued up here. So for example, I'm going to send this one over, and we'll pull this one up. And Baris Kaya says, hello everyone. I saw the Apple Watch at the Apple Store today, picked up a brand new iPad Pro 12.9. So that's a fancy iPad, so you're in good shape there. I have the 10.1 iPad that I'm using to monitor the chat right now. All right, so here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to start part of the unboxing right now and just get this going. And then we will get the watch set up here. So let's do I should probably do like an unboxing video. So maybe we'll do an unboxing video for the Extras channel. You know what? I'm just going to roll with it. Maybe we'll just roll and just see where it goes. I'm just trying to see what I have to do. Yeah, I think I might just do the interior here. So it's pretty well packaged, in case you're wondering. That's what it comes in. So it's all recyclable, which is great. And we will recycle that. And what's nice about, oh, isn't this nice? So they have like a little pull tab here to get it going. So I think, yeah, let's just do like a full, like proper unboxing as part of this video. Why not? Because I think this is going to be like an Extras channel thing. And I found over the years that people like they like on the Apple stuff to do a whole setup process. So I think that's what we're going to do here. Let me just make sure that the chats are catching up here. Yeah, it looks like it's keeping up. Perfect. Okay. All right, so hopefully my stream stays up. I still am not on the new connection yet. So I did get confirmation that the install is totally complete. So we're just waiting on the final countdown, as they say. All right, let's get to the unboxing here, and we'll kick it off. All right, so we're going to record a video while we're doing this stream, in case you're wondering. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and today we're going to be unboxing and setting up my new Apple Watch Series 6. It's in this white box here. You can't see the lettering on there, but it does say Apple Watch. And I am upgrading from my Series 4 watch, and I do an upgrade anytime Apple comes out with a new health sensor for the watch. So the last time I upgraded was from a Series 0 to a Series 4, and I made that upgrade because they added the ability to check your heart, you know, for the arrhythmias and whatnot on here with the, what do they call that thing? What's the name of that heart thing? Why am I forgetting all about that? I got to reshoot the intro here. And Steve McKenzie has a very good point about the Apple pull tabs. So you don't need the knife. You know what I mean? Why am I not thinking about the right name for that? What do they call that? Apple Watch heart rhythm. What do they call that? Heart rhythm. EKG. Why am I'm blanking today. You know what it is? It's Saturday. And I've been going like nonstop for the last ECG, right? All right, let's start again. And we'll do this correctly. And let me just clear out my folder here. I'm really pushing my system today because I'm going to be doing, because this is going to be like one of these long drawn out recordings. And so I'm going to give Jake 2 different files. One is going to be the live program as we switch back and forth. And the other one is going to be just my camera as a separate file. So if he needs to cut away, he can do that. Yes, that's right. Everybody's got it. EKG, ECG, electrocardiogram. I am good to go. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that because I totally blanked on that for a second. All right, so let's start again, and we will kick things off. And I think there's a longer delay in my stream getting the feedback back from you all because I'm going through, I've been trialing Restream.io to see if they can help keep my stream up longer. So it's a little bit more of a delay when we do that. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and today we're going to be unboxing and setting up the new Apple Watch Series 6 that is in this box. And I'm going to be upgrading from my Series 4 watch, and in the process we're going to decouple this watch from my current account and set up this one so you can see the whole setup process from start to finish. I've been upgrading my Apple Watches like every 2 or 3 years, and typically for me they have to come out with a new health sensor to really compel me to make the upgrade. So the big change here from the 4 to the 6, beyond a few creature comforts that we'll talk about in my full review coming up, they did add now a pulse ox sensor to the watch. So in addition to heart rate, the EKG, we now get pulse oximeters built into this thing as well. And that is something I was looking forward to. And we're going to compare it when we get it set up to this low-cost one I bought on Amazon recently to see how it stacks up with that. Now, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that I paid for the Apple Watch here with my own funds. All of the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this unboxing and setup, and no one has reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into this box now and see what we got. All right, that was a good starting point. And I'm going to just go in and just label the files here. So we're going to call this LonCam, and this is going to be intro. So I got 2 files to label now. It's a little bit more complicated for me, but that's okay. All right. And I think I'm just going to let it roll, and that'll be easier for Jake, I think. You can just chop it up. Okay. So we will continue. I'm so glad this is working, this chat thing. So check it out. I can grab, and I'm actually on a different computer sending this stuff over to vMix. So I could just grab, like, for example, I can grab Gary's response there. Isn't that cool? So that's coming directly from the YouTube chat. I can't do this with the Amazon folks just yet, but I could probably type their question into the YouTube chat and then pull it in from there. That would be pretty cool. Okay, so let's get this thing out of the box. 3, 2, 1. All right, so here is the box, and what's nice about Apple's stuff is that they have a pull tab here, so you don't need any fancy knives or anything to get your Apple Watch out of the box. And it's always painful sometimes to break apart these beautiful boxes. Now, my plan here is to use my existing watch band, and I bought a different color than what I have now. And I kept everything super basic here. So this is the GPS watch, but not the cellular one. And the reason I do the lower cost watches is that I'm replacing them every 2 or 3 years. And I found that that's about as long as you can go before your watch really gets scuffed up. So the difference between the cellular watches and the non-cellular ones, beyond the fact that there's a cellular radio built in, is that the lower priced watches have a glass face, whereas the more expensive watches have a sapphire face that will not get scratched as often. So that's really the big difference here. So we're just going to pull this off of here and take a look inside the box. This is the watch part, and then we have the band beneath it. And I went with just the same band I have now, just the silicone band. They have a new one now that's like a single piece that's not adjustable, but I found it was too complicated to buy that one. You had to go measure your wrist out, and I'm never good at doing that stuff, so I just kind of went with the basic thing here. So this is the watch itself. It's all nice and protected inside of this protective covering here. So we're just going to push it out here. Oh, it's in there pretty good. So there you go. It looks almost identical to the one that I have now, although it looks like it has more sensors than the current one. And I think my existing band should fit in there just fine. I'm just going to set this aside for 1 second. I'm hoping it's got a charge. If not, we're going to have to charge it up first. This is the charging cable, and it looks to me that this is similar to the prior iterations. Yeah, it looks pretty similar to me. My understanding is this new one charges faster, although on my desk I have a third-party charger from Belkin, which I'll make sure that this still works with later tonight. I should say on my nightstand. So at night I just take the watch off and put it on that stand. But this should, I think, work with that, so we'll see. And then we have here the band, and I got the white sport band just to have something different from a color standpoint. And my old watch I think I'm going to give to a friend of mine, so he'll just have to buy a new band and kind of go from there. And this was the one box that they did not make as easy to open. So let's get this out here and see what the band looks like. And typically with these you have 2 different bands here. So I have a smaller wrist, so I usually go with the smaller one here, but if you have a larger wrist, they give you 2 different lower portions in the box so you can figure out which one fits best for you. And there you go. I should mention too that this is the larger of the 2 watches. This is the 44 millimeter one. My wife has the 40 millimeter, which is the smaller one. But you can see here, it's obviously the same size as the last iteration. And I found this works pretty well. Even though I don't have large wrists, I found that this size works pretty good for me. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to get my band attached now. So I'm just going to, take the old band off. Let's see if it fits. And this watch has certainly seen better days. The band is kind of beat up also. So let's pop that out there. And I'm just going to pop it in here. And it's kind of crazy putting an old band on a new watch, but I like this band. It fits. I like the color. And if I want to change it up, then I'll just put the white one on later, I guess. And we'll put this on the top here. And it works perfectly. So if you have an older band, no problem. They seem to work just fine. So you're good to go on that. So let's fire this thing up now. And then we'll get going to configuration. I'm hoping I don't have to charge it, but it might be the case that we will. Oh, there it goes. All right, it's starting to boot up. And while that's booting, what we have to do now is decouple my old watch from the account. Now, you can have multiple watches now on your account, but for me, I'm going to give mine to a friend. So I am going to take this watch off of my account. Let me show you how to do that real quick. We'll pull up my 2-up view here. So this is my Apple Watch app on my phone. And I'm going to go here to the All Watches. And you can see right now I just have the single one paired up. Now I could add this new one to the account if I want, which I will do in a few minutes. But first I'm going to decouple the old one. I'm just going to go here to unpair. And we'll do that. And I'm probably going to have to type my password in. So let me do that off camera real quick, and then we'll get going. Now, what this will do is back up my watch as it exists at the moment. So when I go and connect the new watch up, that one is going to be ready to go. And once everything gets paired up, it will restore my new watch to exactly where the old one was. So we're going to let that run here for a second. And once that is done, we'll be ready to go. And this will take a minute or two. You know what I'm going to do while that's going? I'm going to stop the recording real quick and take a few questions. All right. And I'll take a few questions here. I may have answered them already because I see one that was referring to what size of watch we had. And that is whether or not this was the 40 or the 44. And this is, in fact, the 44 millimeter watch. Finn has a good point. For sleep analysis, you can use the Withings watch. Hey, I have to say, the Withings watches are really good for battery life in particular. They work really well for that. All right, what else we got here? Here, Alberto de Silva. I'll send Alberto's question here. He says, hey, great stream. Can't wait for your 4K videos. Have you had a chance to look up the V-Box I told you about? I have not had a chance yet. I think if you didn't email me again. And if you did email me again so I can take a look at that because I'm eager to see that. In Norway, the sleep analysis was said not to be working. Could you go into that? Yeah, I'll take a look at that. You know, part of the problem with the Apple Watch is that the battery life typically doesn't get you through an entire day or night for that matter. So when I've tried to use it as a sleep tracker, when I woke up in the morning, my battery would either be dead or I wouldn't have enough battery power to get through the day. So I'm eager to see how this new one might fare better with that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to pair up with the new watch. And I think I'm going to try to turn this one off so that it doesn't get confused as to which one we're trying to connect to. And by the way, if you're curious as to what your old Apple Watch looks like, I can't see if I can get a good... You see all those scratches? Like I've got like a huge gash right there. You go. See that? A huge gash right there and like 2 more gashes there. And then this part here is all scuffed up. And when I went to Apple to do the trade-in, they were only going to give me like $10 for it. So I was like, you know what, I'll just give it to a friend of mine. Because this is still a very good watch. You know, we'll clean it up and get all this gunk off of it. And if you're curious what the bottom looks like between the two, so it looks like there's more sensors or larger ones than there was before. And we'll put all those tests through all those sensors through their paces as we go here. Okay, so now we are ready to pair. So I'm going to queue up my 2-up view here. We're going to kind of go back and forth to that. And let's go and get this going. And that's the thing, if you buy the more expensive one, here I'll pull up this comment which I'm referring to. So we will pull up Recipe Bob's comments. He may upgrade because he has lots of scratches and dings. And if you get the more expensive one, you won't have the scratches and dings. Like I said, I've been reluctant to do that because I upgrade so like every 2 years or so. So I'm like, if I'm going to spend that much and I'm just going, it's not going to be worth anything. After, like it's one thing if it was a Rolex, which has like, perpetual value. These decline in value quickly. So if you think you're going to keep the watch for 4 or 5 years, then go with the sapphire one. But if you're like me and upgrading every 2 years when they come up with a new sensor, the value of these things, I mean, really, I paid like $300 or $400 for this last year. It's worth $10. It's like, it's crazy. So that's one of the things that I have to look at. One more comment here before we get going. Steve McKenzie has an S5. Sleep tracking works great. It lasts all day. Throw it in the charger for a while, the next day to recharge it. Yeah, one of the things they are saying about the new watch is that it charges faster, so that might be a good incentive to maybe use it as a sleep tracker. I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to use it over the next like 3 or 4 days and then do a review about where it's at. One more comment here from Shadow Colossus about the ECG and the pulse ox. Yes, this is going to be a country-by-country thing, and they have to get it approved by the medical authority in that country for them to use it. And my understanding has been that they've had the technology in the watches to do the pulse ox for a while, but it wasn't cleared by the FDA. And I don't know if this current iteration is or if they found some loophole or whatever, and see where it goes. Jet Martin says, when is Apple going to ditch the Casio squarish style and give us a round watch? I don't know. I had, we reviewed a couple of years ago the Moto 360, which was a very nice round watch, but it was very large for my wrist. So I like the size of the Apple, but it'd be kind of nice to have some different sizes. And I'm guessing there's probably some technical reason why for them square works better. But who knows? I'm sure I mean, what more could they do, right? I mean, I guess they could add some more biosensors and whatever, but at some point they're going to probably have to come up with some new form factors to make all this work. All right, so let's go to here, and we're going to get things set up and paired. 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we've got the watch set up. We've uncoupled the old watch. Again, you can add it to your account if you want. I'm going to go here to start pairing, and I'm going to set this up for myself. And what's going to happen here is that the phone is going to communicate with the watch. And what I'm going to do is put the phone over the watch here so it can pick up its little barcode thingy here to get the pairing going. And now it is paired. And I'm going to select here restore from backup. And what we should see is the watch that we just backed up. And here it is, which is my old Series 4 watch. And we're going to click on continue. And now what will happen is it's going to start transferring data from iCloud, or maybe from my phone, to the watch and get it going. And I found in the past that this takes a colossally long time. So we're going to take a little break here as this part gets going. And when it's done, we'll pick up where it leaves us. And by the way, the stream is still going on. This is just for the recording of the setup we're doing. 3, setup part 2, 3A. Oops.
3, 2, 1.
Oops, sorry, everybody. I just started playing back the content that I just did. All right, I got to agree to some terms and conditions here. Bear with me, I've got like 12 screens up here, so let me just get this clip logged real quick here. 3A, setup part 2. Okay. All right, so we're going to go and agree. And let's see here. So it says Apple Watch share settings with da-da-da-da-da. Okay, we're just going to say yes. All right. You know what I think I might do? I think I might go into a few of the things that we see here. So let's do that real quick. 3, 2, 1. All right, so as things are getting set up, it is asking me some questions that I don't remember from my prior watch, so I figured I would show them to you here. It is asking me about the size of the text that I would like, so I can make it bigger here. And you can see as I adjust it on the phone, the watch kind of corresponds. And although my eyes are not what they used to be, I'm still going to keep it at the default here. You could also select bold text, which will make the text stand out a little bit more, but I'm going to kind of leave it right there. We're going to click continue. The next thing I need to do is choose a passcode. And I'm going to do that off camera here real quick. So let me just dial that in to the watch, and I'll use the one I was using before. And we'll get that going. All right, so now it is going to ask me about blood oxygen. I'm going to enable that because that was one of the primary reasons I bought this watch in the first place. So I'm going to enable that. And then we're going to keep my Apple Watch up to date. I'm going to set up Apple Pay later. And this is something I use my watch for quite a bit because what's really nice, especially in these COVID times, is that you can basically walk up to any reader, you hit the button on your watch twice and just put it down on top of it and you pay. They don't get your credit card. I use Apple Pay all the time and I use it almost exclusively on my watch. It is a great convenience here. We also have emergency SOS, which we'll enable there. We'll look at the clock faces just to see some of the things we can do with that. And now we're going to get everything synced up. And this is the part that takes a while. And what I might do here is get the watch on its charger just to be safe, because I don't want to run out of battery juice while we're first getting set up. And now we're going to take that break and we'll come back once everything is synced up from my old watch. And if you had a new watch here and weren't pairing it up with an existing account, you'd probably be ready to go at this point. But again, we're coming over from our old Series 4 watch. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, there we go. All right. So we have some comments here. I'll pull up. I really love this. This is so fun. Because you can all see now who I'm responding to, and your like little logo comes up on screen. So Recipe Bob loves Apple Pay on his watch. I like it on mine too. I think it's great. And I use it, I mean, literally all the time. And what's funny is now that it's become more of a prevalent thing, it's less of a conversation. By the way, the cord is much shorter now on the charger than it used to be. But now that it's more of a thing, people, you know, the folks at the retail stores are commenting on it less. But it is, oh, did it just go off? What happened here? Oh, I think it's rebooting. Odd that it rebooted like right when I connected it. Okay, it's still syncing. And that's going to take a few minutes here, so we'll let that go through. Steve McKenzie had the Moto 360 with the flat. That's right, it had a flat tire, didn't it? Yeah, that was a cool watch, and it performed pretty well too. And I'm getting the message now that my Apple ID is getting synced up with everything. All right, we'll let that continue. So we'll see what goes on there. And we have a hi, so I'll put you up there. Isn't that cool? Now, you only need to say hi once because I don't need to see it 3 times. I can get you up just once. How about that? Good stuff. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, we are waiting for my watch to sync with the phone. And this still takes a really long time. And it's not that much data. I guess it must be transferring over like low energy Bluetooth or something. So we'll see where it goes. Jet Martin says, I love the functionality, but hate the square look. Yeah, I was surprised that they went with something initially so like you would think, like how could you make a watch? You make it square, right? And you would think they would have come up with a more, with a more interesting design by now, but they haven't yet, unfortunately. And it looks like they've got like some tutorial things you can do here on the watch while you're waiting. Which is fine. I've been using the watch for a long time, so I know all those basics. Alberto da Silva uses a Galaxy watch, and it's fantastic. It does have pulse ox. Interesting. Oh, you're saying ECG and SpO2 are irrelevant, but if it's something important for someone. Yeah, so for me, personally, the ECG was something I have used. And I don't have like a serious condition, but I have, it runs in my family. It's like the force. My grandfather had it. My father has it. I have it. I forgot it's tachycardia, which is, it's not the one that I'm like totally blanking out on names of medical conditions as well, in addition to hardware. What's the name of that condition? It's the heart condition. Why am I blanking on the, hang on a second. I'm just, I'm having one of those days. I can't remember anything. Apple Watch ECG condition. It recognizes, let's see what they say. Oh yeah, atrial AFib, that's right. What is wrong with me? So I don't have AFib, but I have like this tachycardia thing where the heart kind of skips beats every once in a while. And occasionally, and this happened to me only once, but it happened to my dad a lot, and I know a lot of other people that have the same condition. Occasionally what happens is your heart gets out of rhythm and it starts beating like crazy fast. And so what the ECG feature does is it'll tell you if you have a regular rhythm or if you don't. And so for people that have AFib, having the ECG feature is really important because AFib sufferers don't always know they are having an arrhythmia, like an event. So I know when I have an event because I could feel it. And for me, most of the time, it's a couple little knocks and I'm done. And I wore like a monitor for a month and a half, and they did a whole bunch of tests on me and everything else. And I'm, knock on wood, I have a very minor whatever it is. But for some folks, the ECG is really important to run a couple times a day because you're not sure what's going on. And when I did have my episode where I think my heart was going like super fast, to the point where when I went to the doctor, and everybody was like freaking out at the doctor's office. And I had called my father before I went to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, you know, because he has it. So he's like, yeah, you won't die for at least another day and a half or so. So I was kind of calm about it because I knew what it was. But everybody at the doctor's office was like freaking out. So rightfully so. So they did my ECG. The nurse like didn't want to say anything because she wasn't supposed to say anything to me, but she brings the doctor in and he's like worried, you know? So he calls to the hospital, like, I need a cardiologist right now. And so they sent me to the ER around the corner. And what was great about the ER was that when I just took myself there. When I walked in, and granted, like my heart's beating out of control, but I know what it is. I know my father's had it for his whole life and it hasn't taken him out, you know what I mean? So like it's this weird thing because everyone's treating it like a serious condition, which it is. But I know that I'll survive for at least a couple hours or more without a problem. So I walk in, they hook me up, and they bring you right in. Usually when you go to the ER with a minor condition, you know, you're sitting there forever waiting. No, they just brought me right in. So I go in, and by the way, it's still syncing. That's what we're waiting for here. So I go in, and they hook me up to the IV. They take blood. They give me some anti whatever to, you know, I forgot the name of the medicine to slow down your heart rate. And yeah, the watch needs an ECG. I think it's still syncing. We're only about, this is the part that takes forever. It's only like a quarter of the way through there. So they said to me, the ER doctor, he comes in, he's like, you're not lightheaded or anything? I was like, no, I feel fine. And he's like, I can't believe that. Like, he goes, you should be like feeling like you're going to pass out right now. And at the time I think it was like the day after my 37th birthday. Yeah, because my daughter was, because I was playing around with my daughter. So I think it was like the day after my 38th birthday, I think is what it was. And I was like, boy, this late 30s stuff is going to stink, you know? So I was fine after that. I got a cardiologist. They did a echocardiogram. I wore the monitor. And I did the monitor just recently again, just to be safe. And I was fine. But it was pretty scary. So I got one of these ECG things, but it wasn't convenient because it was small, but you had to carry it around with you. So to have it built into the watch is great. And the doctor likes it because I can send her an ECG if I ever had anything that was out of whack. But like I said, knock on wood, I haven't had a bad episode since that one 4.5, 5 years ago. But occasionally I'll get a few good knocks and I could feel it. Like it goes, like you could feel like your heart like doing weird stuff. And so, yeah, it was a beta blocker, Greg M, exactly. Yeah, it was not fun. But the good news is I'm okay. But it's nice to have the peace of mind. So that was why I went to the Series 4, because if I felt like I was having an episode, I could just do a quick test and know whether or not I needed to let the doctor know. Now, it doesn't run in the background, though, because it requires, you know, it's measuring the electrical impulses. And the tachycardia thing that I have is because my heart has too many receptors for the electrical signals coming from the brain telling it to beat. So that's why you get these out of order beats happening. So it'll likely get worse as I get older. And the likely scenario will be what my father went through and many other people I know that went through it. And now it's kind of a common procedure, is you have a procedure called ablation. And it's not like open heart surgery. They go in through a couple different veins. And what they do is they actually cauterize or turn off or burn or whatever the extra nodes on the heart that are beating too quickly. And so that's the treatment. And my father had to have 2 of those, but they've been getting better at this. They actually map out your heart. And when my father went in for his last one, he was so nervous about the surgery, he actually had an episode on the table. So they were able to map out in real time exactly where they needed to go. He said it was really amazing, like how far it's come. So it's, yeah, it's a manageable condition. And, I'm glad I have health insurance and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. And by the way, I'm still waiting for the watch to finish syncing. This is going to take a while, so we can just chat. Let's see who else has a comment here. So here's a good one from Patrick Reardon. Let me pull this up. So he owns the Series 4 LTE, no scratches. And that's because your watch has the sapphire on it. And it looks like the end of your comment got cut off, so I could probably pull it off the other thing. I'm still learning how to use this, this new vMix feature. So it's pretty cool stuff. And Jet says, hopefully the surgeon ablates the right parts. Yeah, you want to make sure they do the right thing. Alberto says, lots of family and friends of the same. Yeah, I think for me, stress, I think, played a part to some degree. Because at the time, what was going on at the time? I was just, you know what it was? I can tell you exactly what it was. Because the channel was kind of taken off at that point, like in a good way. And so, oh good, it's almost done, by the way. It sped up, like the little thing went full circle. The channel was really taken off. And for me, it was hydration and sleep. Because what was happening was I'd go to work all day, and then I would come home and make videos at night after my daughter went to bed. And my daughter was very little at that point, so she'd be in bed by 8. And I would come down and go from like, I'd shoot down here starting around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then I would edit. Like I would shoot and edit and upload all in the same night. And it was killing me because there were some nights where I would be up till like 2 or 3 in the morning and then going to work the next day. So, and what happens with me is that if I see something that's working, I don't want to stop. So, I'm like, oh, I got something here. Because I was trying to get something in media going for a long time. And I'm like, I have to do this. And that's what motivated me to keep going. And then, of course, it almost put me in the hospital. So what I did after that was I slowed down a little bit. I uploaded a little bit less, and that really was kind of the motivator to go into a full-time gig here because it was, this is what I really wanted to do. And it was a balancing act to keep growing the channel so that I could do it, but not kill myself in the process. And I think I found a happy medium. Okay, it looks like we are done here. So let's pick it up on this part. I'm going to zoom in my camera a little bit too and get a better shot here. And I think we're going to take the risk here and just leave it unplugged for a minute just to get it going. So let me see if I can. Now, this camera can only zoom in so far until it gets blurry, so we'll see what we get. Apple Watches are really hard to shoot, but I think we still have to kind of involve the phone here for the moment. Okay, so we're going to get this going. I just want to see where I left off on the last shot, so bear with me for 1 second here. And this is going to be, I forgot to log the last clip, so we'll say 4. This was setup part 3, and then this setup video may not take all that long actually. Setup 4A, Lon Cam part 3. Okay, there we go. All right. All right, so, and I'm going to handle some of these questions that I'm getting in a second because I am very eager to see how these sensors work. Okay, so where did we leave off on the last clip? We left off on, we left off on me.
Pairing it up with an existing account, you'd probably be ready to go at this point. But again, we're coming over from our old Series 4 watch, so we'll be back in a second.
Okay, I think we can pick it up from here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so that did take a little bit of time, but less than the prior versions of the watch, so they are speeding things up here as we get going. So now my old watch has been restored to the new one, And hopefully here when I click the crown, we should be, yep, pretty much right where I left it, including my workout here, or my walk, I should say, for the day. I call it a workout, but it really is just a walk. And what I'm going to do now is put this on my wrist so that it can stay unlocked, and then we'll start playing around with some stuff. Now on the phone, I'll pull up the phone screen here to see what our next steps are there. Remember, you need an iPhone for this to work at all, because this is something that pairs with an iPhone. And now we're pretty much right where I left it before. I could change the watch faces here remotely. I can manage the apps and get all that stuff going. The big difference here on the new watch that I can see so far is that it has an always-on display mode. So whereas my old watch would shut off, this one also just shut off. I guess that's not going to work. There it goes. Oh, it must shut off until it feels movement again. That must be what it is. Okay. So give me a second. I need to cut that, cut that clip. And I think what I'm going to do is I can just put it on my left wrist. That'll work. Yeah. So bear with me, folks. I got to just do a quick update on one of the clips here, and we will pick it up from there. I just got to see where I can cut this one. I'll share this with you so you can see what I'm looking at here too. 5B, on cam. And this is good. This is why I'm doing a second recording at the same time, so that part 5. Okay, so let's go and look at what I just recorded so I can figure out where to cut it. So I'm just going to pull up the footage here real quick, and you'll be able to watch with me here as I'm doing this. So let's go to setup part 4, and let's see what we got. 3, 2, 1. All right, so that did take a little bit of time, but less than the prior versions of the watch, so they are speeding things up here as we get going. So now my old watch has been restored to the new one, and hopefully here when I click the crown, we should be, yep, pretty much right where I left it, including my workout here, or my walk, I should say, for the day. I call it a workout, but it really is just a walk. And what I'm going to do now is put this on my wrist so that it can stay unlocked, and then we'll start playing around with some stuff. Now on the phone, I'll pull up the phone screen here to see what our next steps are there. Remember, you need an iPhone for this to work at all, because this is something that pairs with an iPhone. And now we're pretty much right where I left it before. I could change the watch faces here remotely. I can manage the apps and get all that stuff going. The big difference here on the new, so I'm going to say from this point, the big difference here is, and let me get this unlocked real quick. It's funny, it feels exactly like my other one because I'm using the same band. Doesn't feel heavier either. Okay, so there we go. So I'm in. Yeah, I mean, like, what do you do? It's the same watch. There's not much difference here, right? So let me get that camera view overhead. I'm just trying to see where I need to put my wrist. Because at some point this camera gets blurry, as you can see. So I think I can probably manually focus it. Let's see if I can get it. Because it hits like a limit as to how far it can go. And that's pretty much where it is. So we're not going to be able to get it there. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to say cut before the big difference. You know what? It actually feels a little heavier. It really does. I wonder if it's heavier. I need to look this up and take a look. And I got a comment here from Lewis. I'll put it up on screen real quick. Who's asking, how accurate are the sensors? And that is our next investigation right now. And I'm just trying to see on my screen here what it looks like. Yeah, so it kind of dims the display down. And I'm guessing it's based on movement, because I bet you if I hold my wrist really still, because one of the things that I noticed with the old watch is that it would, yeah, see how it gets dim? Is at night, when it's on the nightstand, it will turn itself off, but then quickly turn back on. If there's even just a little vibration, it turns back on again. And let's see what the battery life is looking like. Oh, the battery's pretty well charged here. It's at 89%, so we'll get through the rest of today for sure. I'm just going to wait and see if I can get it to dim. Now it's not dim. There it goes. Let's see if it turns off. I don't know if it's going to turn off or not. So FPD says, I hope they add a blood pressure sensor. That's what they should do. I've seen blood pressure watches. There is one. In fact, I saw it at CES recently. And that one seems to work pretty well. It squeezes your wrist. It does like an actual, like what you would expect a blood pressure test to feel like. So they could do that. I think they would have to engineer something into the watch band as well. It'll probably make it bigger. And Jet here would like to do that as well. And Alberto makes a very good point here. Yeah, that's one of the things that's given me some peace of mind about my very minor condition, is knowing that I have something with me that I could do a test with at any time. And what was interesting is when I had my initial, I'll put your comment back up here. When I had my initial episode, I had like these aftershocks for the rest of the week. It didn't just go away, And so I was freaking out constantly. And my dad's like, don't worry about it. Like my father's been living with it for 30 something years. And my grandfather had it before him. The big issue with it is that my big fear has always been that because they initially diagnosed me with that and AFib, because they're kind of one and the same sometimes. And my big fear was, I don't want to have AFib and not know it, because it's a significant stroke risk. And my condition's a stroke risk also, because when you are having an episode, the blood can clot and then go through your bloodstream. It's the leading cause of stroke. So if you have something that you can just do a quick test with. The one thing it doesn't do, though, is it doesn't run the EKG when just on its own. You have to enable it. You have to go through that. So I'll show you the EKG feature real quick, and then we'll do the other one. So for example, if I go into this app, and you can see what it says here, and I'll put my finger on the crown here, and you're not supposed to talk while you do it. Okay, so now that it's done, you get, I have to agree to some terms here. Apparently there's an update for Apple Watch already, which we're not going to do just right this minute. So then you get, it gives you an analysis. It says, okay, you have sinus rhythm, which means that I'm not showing signs of AFib. And that's all this looks for. So it's not going to detect a heart attack at all, nor will it detect anything else. And what's interesting, and this is something I noticed, because at the time of my first episode, I had this is not my not my show episode, but my heart episode. I had the original Apple Watch, and the watch did not detect my heart rate going up. And a lot of people have mentioned that the watch saved them not because of the ECG feature, but because it noticed the heart rhythm had changed, or the heart rate. And it didn't detect my heart rate going up. In fact, it was showing a normal heart rate, which was weird. And it was probably because, although it was beating irregularly, I still had whatever it was looking for was not seeing what was happening. So it would have shown up on this. Now, the other cool thing that it does, I'll pull this up on the app here, because it links up to Apple Health, and I will show you this here in a second. Let me go to my health app. I'm just looking for the thing. You know what's nice too? This actually syncs up. I forgot that it does this. This syncs up with my cardiologist, and it can send all of these ECGs into my medical file automatically, which I think is awesome. But again, I don't have, I've not had any real issues here. Okay, so here is what you get on the phone side, and I got to cover this in the actual video. So you can see that it just checked my heart rate at 3:17 p.m., likely because I was doing an ECG thing here. And then the ECG we ran, you can click on this and it'll give you the full chart. And you can see I've run these things all the time because I'm paranoid, and I've been fine. And then if I go to export a PDF from my doctor, what she'll get, and I showed this to her, she's like, oh, this is actually a pretty, you know, it doesn't have the difference between this and like one you would get at the doctor's office. And by the way, that little bump there is when I was talking. The difference between what you get here and what you get at the doctor's office is that the doctor's stuff has more contact points. This has less contact points. So it's not going to be as accurate as a true ECG, but it's good enough to know if you're having a problem. And that's what this will do for you. But all this gets logged. So I've got years of data now from the first one that I had. And so if I go back here, it just goes on and on and on. So I've got, yeah, so I had 120 normal runs of this, and then it had 4 that were inconclusive. And this one, I think I was just done with a walk or something, so my heart rate was a little higher. And a couple of them have caught it, you know, as it was happening. Yeah, here's a good one. So like that, but you see, it's not happening enough that it would trigger it to say that you're having an episode, because it happens then it goes away. And occasionally when I get it, it's like and then it stops, and then maybe 10 minutes later it'll hit again, and then it kind of settles down again. And a lot of it has to do with hydration and exhaustion for me. So that, you know, when I'm hydrated and well rested, it usually isn't as big of a deal. But it's certainly, I think, you know, if you're nervous or anxious, that causes it to happen more. So I try to keep, I have a pretty low-key demeanor most of the time. And it's funny, the older I've gotten, the less things bother me. So, and I think having a YouTube channel helps, because you're getting you know, lots of criticism all day long. So all that stuff has helped. Give me 1 second here. Watching this here, hang on 1 second. There we go. I just wanted to see where I wanted to cut. Cut at that stuff going. Okay. Oh, give me 1 second here. I just got to turn this off, and then we're going to finish up this. This video actually was going to be longer than I thought. This is a good extras channel video, because it's not hard to set it up. It just goes. So you know what would be helpful for all of you? If I'm going to put, so let me put it out there to the people watching that are thinking about buying an Apple Watch. What would you like to know about the setup process? That would help me out a lot right now, trying to figure all this out. So cut before. All right, so now I'm going to go to the overhead view here, and I'm going to wait for the watch to fall asleep here. So let me start recording real quick. 3, 2, 1. Oops. So now it just did it right when I was about to start. Three, two, one. Now the one thing that I'm 3, 2, 1. Now the one. Oops. 3, 2, 1. Now the one thing I'm noticing here right out of the gate is that the screen never shuts off. This is a new feature of the Series 5 watch, which of course continues on to the 6. So what will happen here is when your wrist is idle, it will dim the screen. And then if you touch the screen or move it up closer to your face, it will get brighter, and you'll be able to keep looking at it. And apparently they have a larger battery and a more efficient processor, so they can now leave the screen on all the time. But there are some ways you can turn that off. Let's go into the settings app here and see what our options are. Okay. And you know what? I think I might just turn off this dual recording thing right now, because I'm now like, I was going to just have this be like the live stream just kind of downloaded, but I think we can get by without having to do that. So we're going to call this okay, so let's get rid of this, and let me go and just make one adjustment on my recording settings here. We're going to disable recording output 2, I'm going to probably just keep recording in the same format that I've been on, though. And I'll pull up some more questions here. Wow, I got lots of questions that I've not addressed here. Put your palm on the watch to dim it. Oh, look at that. I was not aware of that. So you can palm it to dim it. Or is it a sensor maybe? Oh, it must be like a sensor thing. Okay. So I missed part of the chat that somebody just posted here. So one of the problems with my vMix social thing is that it doesn't pull in the whole chat. So here, I'll pull up this question from Pikachu Raichu. So he's wondering, do I have the ECG app? I talked to Apple Advisor. They said many people with Series 6. Let me see if I can find your chat in the YouTube thing because it cut it off. He said many people with the Series 6 watch are missing the app. And it doesn't appear to be missing on mine. I had it right, we just ran it. It's right over here. So you might have to enable it in the settings, which that's what we're going to look at next. Because that's something we should definitely spend some time on looking at here. Let's see, I'm going to take a few more questions and then I'm going to go back to recording this video here. CVL says having the device for easy, quick monitoring on a whim is huge for people that have significant health. Yeah, I think it is because you have the sensor here with you all the time. You know what we should do? We should take a look at the pulse ox as we're waiting for my thing to start. This must be it here. Yeah, here it is. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to record this just so we have it. And it's probably going to, I'm shooting this out of order, but 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take a look at the pulse ox sensor now. We're going to load up the app here, and it's going to give us some tips for a good measurement. So we'll hit next here. Make sure your watch is not too low on your wrist. I think I'm okay. Your watch band should be snug but comfortable, okay? And then it says keep your watch facing up and try not to move. Resting your wrist on a table can help, which I'm doing, so that should help. And we're going to click on start. And it said unsuccessful measurement. All right, this could be caused by your band being too loose or too tight, or your watch being low on your wrist, or other factors. All right, so should I move it further up on my wrist? Let's try. Apparently this has not been working well, and it sounds like I'm going to have the same problem. So I'm going to move it up a little bit higher on my wrist here, and let's try it again. Okay, that one worked. So I'm going to have to keep playing with this. It looks like I'm having some of the same trouble that other people are having with their watch making a successful reading here. And it's funny that Apple would release this without it being perfect. Now, by comparison, I've got this very low-cost finger reader here that you can get on Amazon, and this one gives me a reading every time I pop it in there. It's a little different than what we just saw. It just could be the circulation going through my fingers, but this is typically what I get, around 97 to 100 on this one. So far it looks like I'm breathing okay, and we'll have to keep playing with that feature as they do new software updates. All right, and Jake can cut that piece up a little bit. And I will leave that up on screen here. We're going to call this pulse ox. So I'm going to do the setup process next for that. And let's see what we got for questions. Robert Schrader here has a good question. So he says, I don't think I'll ever get an Apple Watch because you have to charge it overnight. Yeah, that's one issue with them. I'll give you that. And like I said, I don't do the sleep tracking on it because of that. However, this one apparently charges faster and also has a longer battery life. So I'm going to try the sleep functions on it. But in the past, I've had a similar experience, which is that if I use it as a sleep tracker, by the time I'm up in the morning, it's either dead or about to be dead. So if it could charge up quickly enough while I'm in the shower, that might be worth taking a look at there. Saifullah says, do you remember me? I'm Demon Ultrex. Yes, I remember you. You used to pop into our chats all the time. It's good to see you. CVL says the watch will go from empty to full in about an hour and a half. Let's see what else we got here. Flood of Sins is here. This would be a good one from Jet here. Maybe have a hydration level, which would be, that'd be kind of fun to see. They should be able to do that, maybe. Or maybe look at the level of stuff there. Or a stress sensor with corresponding emojis. That could be fun. So John Moshe asks, can you set up a Apple Watch with an Android phone? You cannot. However, you can set up, in a limited fashion, the Android Wear watches do work with Apple phones. But you have to, it's very limited, so you don't get the level of integration that the Apple Watch will integrate with that. So we will look at that. Robert, I'm not going to be able to answer the sleep sensor question yet because it is something, so what it does on sleep, because I think it works the same as the prior version did, which is that it will detect when you're not moving, and it'll automatically enable that. I'll look in the settings though on the app and see if we can see what the settings are for it. But I won't be able to test that obviously until I have some time with it. So my plan is to kind of run with this through the weekend, and I'm gonna use this like I've been using my watch and just see what we get going there. Jet wants to know, does it have a temperature monitor? It does not. It does not check your temperature. That'd be helpful if it did, especially now with all this COVID stuff. Nick wants to know, I'm an iPhone guy, and I can read the full comment on my screen here. It just doesn't show up on yours thing there. Doesn't plan to buy an Apple Watch, but if you have extra time in your review, I'm curious about switching between two watches. Yeah, I have done that before. And what it typically does is it'll sync everything up. So what'll happen is, let's say you go out on the town, right? You come home, and then once your phone gets in range of the watch again, it will sync back up. And then all the watches will stay synced through the phone acting kind of as the server. That's typically how that works. Oh, interesting. So you know what? AJ has a question here about the ECG, as he asked before. He had to install it from his phone. So yeah, it could be that you don't have that app on initially. So I will take a look at that. And then Kobe says, the sleep test part isn't, here, I'll put this is a good one. Yeah, if you want, I can just conk out right now, and you can you can just watch me sleep for the next couple hours. And Patrick says it takes about an hour to charge, but you don't have to wear the watch day and night for sleep analysis. Yeah, but you do have to watch. If you wear it all day and then you sleep, like, it has to be on you the whole time. That's been I did not do it on the 4 because it wouldn't. I'd start the morning off with nothing in the tank, and then I would charge it, long enough to get going, and then it was like, so I would wake up. It was either dead in the morning or it had like 20% or whatever. And I put it on the charger, and I would not get through the day. So I'm going to see if this one will get me through the day now, and we'll see where it goes. Lil Brum has a Apple Watch, first one ever. Yeah, I think it's improved a lot. The first one was super slow. I mean, my first one was horribly slow, but this one is a lot quicker. All right, so you know what we're going to do now? We're going to go into the Apple Watch app here, and I bet you have to install that ECG app. My guess would be that they want you to go through the medical warnings first. I'm just looking on my thing right now and see where it is. Or it may ask you at the time that you install it. Jet Martin says maybe they could add a sensor to determine how loudly you snore. You know what's funny? There is a product from from the former Nokia Health Withings, and they have it's a mattress pad sensor that does measure snoring. And I think I think maybe there's an app on the iPhone, or maybe the iPhone itself does detect snoring also. So there are things that do that, and I'm pretty sure it might be part of that. Let me just double check on this thing real quick to see. Okay, so here's the heart settings in case you're curious about that. Yeah, mine had it on there initially, but if you don't see it, I think maybe you have to go into the heart option. So I think I'll take people kind of through the setup process, or the options screen here. I'm just looking through here to see if there's anything of note. I use it as a nightstand clock. That works pretty nicely. I'm just looking to see if they've added anything else here. I wonder why I have handoff turned off. I kind of like that handoff feature. Oh, you know, I did turn that off because it was constantly putting things on my screen on my watch that I didn't want. That's why I turned that off. So I think I might go through some of this. And then where is here's the display options. Okay. So we'll take a look at that. Oh, here's a good question from Jim. Does the Series 6 record occasional blood oxygen readings and store them to present a graph? I don't think it will do them automatically. So just like the ECG feature, it has to be, you have to load the app up to do it. But it might be, let's take a look inside the Health app and let's see if it recorded that on my list of stuff here, respiratory. Yeah, so it does give you, again, you have to do this manually. And I'm not sure where it got this one from, 30 milliliters, what is that? Past 7 days? What is that from? Must be estimating that? I wonder where it got that from. So this is the reading that we just took. But yeah, I think you have to enable the test. Robert's been using the Sleep Cycle app for iOS and Android, which can also look for snoring. He's been using it for 5+ years, so there's definitely a lot of snoring stuff out there. I don't snore, thankfully. But you know what I do have? I'm giving you all my medical problems today. So I have what they call obstructive apnea, and I've had it for a long time. And initially my doctor said you need to lose weight, so I lost weight, and I lost 40 pounds. I'm now 10 pounds heavier than I was after I lost. I got to go back on a better, more, it's the pandemic that's caused it. Part of it's been muscle gain because my kids are getting older. I'm picking up muscle mass, but I'm heavier than I was. But if I sleep on my back, I have this obstructive apnea where you stop breathing, or you wake up gasping. So I have to sleep on my side. So I went to like an ear, nose, and throat guy. And he spent an hour looking at me, and I'm thinking I could get a sleep study, I can get this. He's like, yeah, just sleep on your side. It's like, okay. So I might end up getting one of those CPAP machines, because I'm most comfortable on my back sleeping, and I can't sleep on my back anymore. So it's something I want to approach in the future. Boris here, I'll pull up your comment because it's relevant to what we were just discussing. Looks like they're going to try to have it take saturation readings occasionally. So I'm guessing, given what we just saw with the tests that we ran, that it's something that they have to get tweaked a little better. It's tough to do this. What's funny is that these cheap little oxygen saturation testers work really well, but they're doing it because they're projecting light through your fingers. And if you ever took out like a flashlight at night, you could always like see through your finger very easily on the tips like that. So that's kind of the same concept here. Technology Connections did a great video on these things, and He's got it's amazing how simple the technology is, but these things work really well. Now I got this. It's funny because when I got back from CES, I think you've all heard this story. I'm just giving you my whole health history for the last 3 years here. So when I got back from CES this year, I was like sick for a week. I had 103, 104 fever. It wouldn't go away. I had coughing, not like horrible pneumonia coughing, but I was not in good shape. And there's some live streams that I did from that time. So if you go to my live stream archive, you'll see them there. And I was having some trouble breathing, like just weird breathing stuff at night. So I bought this around that time. This is before we thought COVID was around. And so I'm pretty convinced that I had it back then. And I did the antibody test like 3 or 4 months later, but as it turns out, apparently these antibody tests don't really give you a good sense as to whether or not you had it a few months ago because the antibodies fade pretty quickly. So it's possible I had it. I could have some T-cell immunity to it. But now I'm reading that if you had the Chinese strain, which is probably what I would have caught at CES, the European strain, while very similar from your immune system standpoint, is different enough that you can get reinfected with the European one, although not be as sick. So either way, so I'm working right now on getting a T-cell test. That's my latest adventure. So as soon as I'm able to get that, I will let you know about what's going to happen there. All right, so I'm going to walk through the settings and give some people some advice on that, and then we'll take some more questions. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's step through some of the settings now for things that you should be thinking about on your watch. We're going to start here, though, with the general settings, and I'll show you some of the things that I have set up on mine. Watch orientation is set to my left wrist because that's where I typically leave it. One of the things that I turned off was handoff. And the reason I did that is because I had a few apps that would take over my watch's display, and I didn't want them to do that. So I have a podcast app that I use when I go out walking, and it would just take my watch and turn it into the controls for the app. And I'm not a runner, so I don't need to have the watch controlling the app. If I wanted to change something, I would just take the phone out of my pocket. So I turned that off just because it was doing things that I didn't want it to do. But handoff can be useful, especially if you want to have the active app on your phone be controlled remotely without you having to load the app up on the phone directly. That's something that you may want to look at. Wake screen here is what you can do to wake the watch up. And I'm going to show you the display things in a minute as well. So the way this works is that if I hold the watch up, it will turn itself back on. Now this new watch will always have the display on, but what will happen here is it will go from that dimmer display to the brighter display state with this option enabled when I lift the watch up to look at it. So that's what that command does. Wake on crown up is similar. You can move the watch crown up and that will turn everything on. And then I also turned off auto launch audio apps because that was part of the problem that I was having with the watch display getting taken over when I didn't want it to. You can also have it wake the screen up with a tap. I have mine set for 15 seconds. So if I tap the screen, it will stay on for 15 seconds and then go into its low power state. But you can also have it go for 70 seconds there as well. You can also have it return to the clock after a certain length of time if you load up an app and then go dormant there. So that's another thing to adjust on that front. One thing that some folks mentioned in the chat room is that the ECG app may not be accessible to you right away. It was on my watch because I restored it from before. If you don't see it, go into the heart settings here, and this will give you the options for enabling that. The FDA here in the US requires a bunch of things that you have to agree to before you can start using the app. They don't want you thinking that this is going to solve your heart attack problems and other more serious heart conditions. So you have to kind of agree to that stuff initially. You can also set some warnings here. So for example, if the watch detects that my heart rate goes beyond 120 beats per minute, it will send me a notification. It will ignore that, of course, if you're working out or exercising. This would be if you're inactive yet the heart rate is still running that high. You can also set it for a low heart rate. And while it won't do your ECG automatically, what it will do is measure your heart rate on a regular interval. So it'll trigger based on those intervals of the heart rate being checked. if it notices that you're idle and when it runs its interval and it sees that it's low or high, it will give you a notification about that. One other thing to look at here is the display settings. So the Apple Watch Series 5 and 6 now can always be on, which I have mine set to right now, but if you prefer it turn the screen off when idle, you can disable that. You can also have it hide sensitive complications such as calendar appointments and other things, because those are things that can appear when the watch is locked. So if you're concerned about someone seeing your calendar appointments when the watch is essentially unlocked, I will fix that. I got through that take pretty good though. This is for the extras channel too, so this one's a little less perfect in my diction here. So let me just watch to the end of that part real quick. Bear with me here.
That can appear when the watch is locked.
Okay, so I'm going to have it just go to when the watch is locked. Bear with me for 1 second here, folks. Okay. Making progress. All right. Scorpion has a good question here, and we did see some stuff at CES last year about this, but I don't think they've been cleared by the FDA. But there is technology out there that can measure your blood sugar level on a watch-sized device without having to take a blood sample. So that's going to be a big thing when they can figure that out and the FDA can approve it. If you go to my CES 2020 coverage, we had a video that we talked about one of those devices, and I got a lot of people writing in like, I could really use that, especially for people that have to regularly check their blood sugar. Rob Hanks has a question, which is, how does the sensor work? Does it take a reading from your blood through the sensor itself then? So I'm assuming you're talking about the pulse ox sensor. So it works pretty much identically to how this one does, in that it's shining a light down and it's looking to see what comes back, and that's how it's able to measure the oxygen level. It's probably more complex than this, because this one's shining a light through my finger, whereas this one has to look at the area underneath the watch and try to figure out what it's seeing. So I think there's certainly more computational things going on with this process, because it can't shine a light through the bottom of my wrist, whereas this one shines a light from the bottom and it has a sensor. I'm not sure where the sensor is, but you get the idea. This is a much simpler design, which is why these things are so inexpensive. And I use this more than I should, because I'm always wondering if I've got it or not. But these always work, and that's what's funny is like you can buy one of these, for pennies on the dollar. You could buy probably like 10 or 20 of these things for what one Apple Watch costs. And in case you missed it, I'll do another pulse ox test here. Let's try it out real quick. So let's go over to the oxygen sensor, and it has the last test that we ran on it. So I'm not going to talk while it's doing it, because you're supposed to not talk. So I'll just breathe. Yeah, it did it again. This is not working well. I'm having the same problem everybody else is, I think. So let's try it again. Okay. That was about what I saw on the other one. So that's typically what I get out of these, is like 96, 97%. That's what's normal for me. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, Technology Connections had a great video on these things. It's really good. Very easy to understand also. And Jet Martin says you can get them for like 10 or 15 bucks. Yeah, this one, I think I saw this one on the wire cutter. I went and looked. This was before everybody wanted one. and they had rated this one very highly. This one was about $25. I have it in the chat right now on Amazon in case you're curious. And it does not check blood sugar now, no, but it might in the future. And yeah, Jet Martin says, do I need a HIPAA form? Yeah, I've given you all of my secret medical history, so absolutely. The forms will be on the website later. All right, so I think we're good there. I don't think there's really anything else here that we need to think about for setup. So if any of you have questions on Apple Watch setup, let me know, because I want to make sure I have all this kind of covered. And Rob says, thank you. That is here. I'll put this into the... It's kind of cool how this works. I'm able to look on my computer screen here at the chat like I usually do, but then I can send it to vMix, and then it puts up the thing here. And it is amazing what a watch can do nowadays. And that's exactly, it comes back to our initial discussion, which was why I opted for the non-cellular version this time. It's because you get to the end of the life cycle of the watch, and this one's still very, very relevant, but it doesn't have all the sensors that the new one has, so the resale value on it is not like a piece of jewelry. And while I would love to have the nicer face that doesn't get all scuffed up and damaged, because again, you can see the damage on this one. You see all those scratches? It's like beat up. And my last one, was it this one? My daughter had broken my original Apple Watch. I had to get it replaced because the screens do break. Actually, my wife's, that's right, my wife's face got busted up. So you end up having to buy the Apple Care and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely an issue there. All right, so let me go back through my notes here and just make sure I have everything where I want it. Watch is locked. All right, so I think I'm going to do a setup on the pulse ox sensor, and then we'll do a wrap-up conclusion recording, and I think we'll be in good shape. All right, so let me get myself into the mode here, and I think what we did for the pulse ox sensor is we started just on, yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the pulse.
Okay, so that's good. All right, so I'm going to do a quick intro to the next clip, and then we're going to do a conclusion for the recorded portion. How long have I been streaming for? I have no idea. I have been streaming for an hour and a half, and it's almost time to walk the dog. It's 4 o'clock already. How did it get to be 4 o'clock? This is what happens when I work on the weekend. I got to shoot the wrap-up tomorrow also. I'm going to do my wrap-up on CES and what I think is going to happen this year, because I'm kind of bummed out they're not having it, although I understand why they're not having it. And I wasn't even sure if I would even go, but because now if I went, here's the problem. If I went to CES, if they had it, I would have, when I come back, I would have to quarantine myself for 2 weeks based on our state rules about travel. And the worst part is that I would have to quarantine myself away from the family because my daughters are back in school. So they would carry whatever I brought back with them. So I would, and I don't think I have to do that, but you want to think about being responsible, because the last thing I would want is for my daughters to catch something from me, and I think they would be fine, but if they go to school and get a teacher sick, I don't want that to happen, you know what I mean? So if I did go, I would have had to have quarantined for 2 weeks. And you have to file a form on your way back. It's a whole big thing. They're just trying to be safe. And it's tough because, I think for most people, you would be okay. You could get sick. Like I said, I think I had it from the last CES. And what the problem here is that the percentage of people who are not going to be okay is much higher with this than the flu, depending on your age level. And I had said to a friend of mine, I would just go, my risk is so low. He goes, all right, let me ask you this question, because I think the rate is like 2% or 1%. Because if I handed you a bowl of M&Ms and 1 or 2 of them would kill you, would you have a bite? And I said, yeah, you got a good point there. Typically, that's that's a good point. All right, so we're going to shoot an intro to the pulse ox sensor, and then we're going to shoot the conclusion, and then I'll be done with the recorded video. And this is for the extras channel, and I want to wear this for a week. Not a week, I'll wear it for a couple days and just get a feel for it. The good thing is I've been using the Apple Watch for so long, I'm so familiar with it, so there's not much for me to work on for a review, but we will certainly give people some good info. All right, looks like my Amazon package has arrived. So Amazon is now delivering to my house directly. I feel like I'm in like, so where I live, it's unusual that we get things like that. So, but what a year it's been. I went from, not getting Amazon packages delivered directly to having them delivered to my house. They got the uniform, the hat on, and everything. And now I've got fiber optic internet installed, but not yet working. So I got the cable here. And I'm hoping Monday I get an answer as to when I'm going on. So we are still on coax at the moment. And I am so excited for this new internet service that I have installed here. It's going to cost me a fortune, but it will be glorious. And I'm already coming up with so many different things I can do with it. PC Kitty Luke wants to know, what watch did I upgrade from? So I upgraded from the Series 4. And for me, so it's funny, back in the old days when I would decide when to upgrade my PC, it would be when the megahertz doubled. That's when I would do an upgrade. So I had when I graduated college, I built a 233 megahertz computer in college. And then when the 450s came out, the Pentium 2 450s, that's when I upgraded to the 450. That was a monster, that computer. So with the watch, I wait for, because the Series 4 watch, I mean, honestly, it was perfect for me. I had no complaints with it. And the only thing that made me want to upgrade was the fact that this one has a pulse ox sensor. And we've been running tests, and I'll say that the pulse ox is not great. So I'll run another one here so you can see how it does. And it's done. Okay, it worked that time. So it's like every other time it works. But at least it says I'm breathing, so that's good. So it's always comforting to know that I am breathing. So that was what made me upgrade, was the fact that it has that pulse ox sensor. But that was it. It does feel like slightly snappier, but does your watch have to be any faster? So what was interesting was the Series 0 watch, which was the first generation, the one that I had. That one was super slow. So when I went from that to the 4, I was like, whoa, this is crazy fast. Now this one feels like, I probably should have left my other one installed so I could do a comparative. But like if you look at here, when I jump around menus, it's pretty quick. It's pretty snappy. So let's load up my, I don't know, let's find something I can load up here. The calculator. And then back out. And then I can load up OmniFocus. Oh, it's got to sync up with my phone. Oh, all right, I got to set that up. Let's see. Let's do the camera thing. And the camera's on. I got to switch the camera around. Front camera. That's the photo thing. So it just feels snappier. I'll give them that. I got to sign into everything all over again. So it does feel a little snappier, but it doesn't feel that much different. It does feel a little heavier on my wrist. I got to check the weight on these things to see where it goes. Jeff is asking, where do I live? In the boonies. Yes, I actually do live in the boonies in Connecticut. But what's funny is that I'm in this really weird spot in Connecticut. So I'm close to New Haven, and yet we're kind of like, we're not quite suburban and we're not quite rural. We're kind of in between. So we have just enough density to have somewhat decent infrastructure, but we're not like what you would have in a suburb. So like a lot of the little smaller fiber optic ISPs are not coming out here. But the Comcast is here, obviously. And where I happen to live, there's a lot of fiber running past me because it's taking their service out to other parts of the area. So I've got like a good amount of fiber. In fact, I got fiber running right outside even before they put this new wire in. There's fiber running right up my road and down towards their head end. So they were able to tie me into that. And they put up something called a CWDM, which is a optical multiplexer. And this is a passive optical multiplexer. I'm learning so much about fiber optics, it's amazing. So what it does is it allows me to share a single pair of fiber with their other services. So the color of my data on that wire is different, or the spectrum is different. So when it transmits down, I'm in there with some of their other traffic, but we're not sharing the connection. It's crazy. So I think it's effectively 3 gigabits symmetrical. I'm definitely going to have 2 gigabits symmetrical, so that's going to be a nice big update for me. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to having all this new stuff. Okay. So let me shoot the intro here. Yeah, so I think CES made the right choice. And, you know, competitively, it would have made sense for me to go because a lot of the bigger outlets were not going, right? And so, you know, I felt like, you know, if I could go, I would have gone. We got a lot of people watching right now. And, you know, again, when I got back, though, I would sequester myself for 2 weeks. I wouldn't come home to the house, you know, so it would have been like a whole 3-week thing. And it probably wouldn't have been the smartest idea. But competitively, it might have been good for me because a lot of other outlets wouldn't have been there, you know. But I think they made the right choice in not doing it. And I'm sure it was driven by the fact that the exhibitors weren't coming. So that was why they did that. All right. Desert Kun, actually, I want to answer this question. I think this is a good question. I'm assuming you're talking about the watch. So let me pull this up here real quick. So he was wondering if, I'm assuming you're talking about the watch. Are these actually useful, or is this the equivalent of a tablet that ends up on a shelf? I have to say, I've been wearing, so when I bought the Apple Watch in 2015, when it first came out, and this right now, see, it did its dimming, so it leaves the screen on all the time. When I bought the Apple Watch when it first came out, I was of the opinion that I would review it and then I'd probably sell it because I'd never wore a watch before. And I put it on and I used it for a week just to get to know it. And one of the things being a small channel is I never get this Apple stuff when everybody else does. So I've got to, my reviews always come out later. And what was funny was after the end of that week, I was like, I didn't want to be without it. Like I really, got to appreciate it. And back then, it didn't have a lot of the features that it has now, and it was very slow and cumbersome. But there was a couple of things that sold me on it. The first one was the fact that the heart rate monitor worked really well. And that was kind of important to me on a medical thing that I talked about earlier. Nothing serious, but that was important. The fact that it tracked workouts and stuff, and the fact that it was pushing me, like the closing the rings thing that it does. So you can see here, I took my dog out earlier, and what I found was that this was a good guide, especially the green one here. This was a good guide to make me work harder because, and it was amazing. It was a motivator because I said, oh, I didn't get that ring closed today. And I don't set like super high goals for myself, but I was doing more exercise to get that ring closed, and that to me was a motivator, and it helped make me healthier to some degree because I was in the middle of my weight loss effort at that point. So that was a key thing. And then what really worked out well for me on the watch was the fact that it integrates very well with the phone. And so at the time that I got the watch, my second daughter was born, and then my company was going through an acquisition, and we were in the middle of due diligence. So the week that I was out on paternity leave, essentially helping my wife adjust for the baby coming home, I'm changing diapers, I'm on conference calls, I'm taking text messages, and I was amazed by how much communication I could do on the watch when I was dealing with the baby. It was incredibly useful. And so all of that really made it something that's been a helpful component to what I do. And now I really like it just because like a lot of the notifications that come through from the phone, like my security cameras and stuff. So if UPS is coming here with a package that I need to sign for, my little Wise outdoor camera there will notify me, and I'll actually see the image of what the camera picked up on the watch notification. Like there's all these little things that have been really useful for me. So that was helpful. So that was good. And then I got a question here from Mayura Garcia about the oxygen sensor. No, so right now, and some folks in the chat said this is going to change. But the oxygen sensor will not run automatically. You have to summon it every time. So they said in the future, I think the plan is to have it check you like it's checking your heart rate. But right now you've got to summon it here. So I have to hit the start button to do that. So it's going to run right now. And it's been working about every other test. So it's been okay, but I think they probably want to get it tweaked before it's ready to go. And then Robert here has an update on the watch. So 1.09 ounces for the 40 millimeter, 1.31, and I'll pull up your chat on here. This is from Tech Republic, so because it felt a little heavier. And I have the Series 4. So he says the Series 5 was 1.4 ounces. So this is lighter than the Series 5. Huh. So the Series... So it's lighter than the Series 5 one is. It just feels a little heavier than my other one, but I could just be what I was thinking there. So Rob wants to know, does the watch come with pre-installed apps? If so, what are the extras? I have a friend who uses Apple Pay on his. I can't remember. Let's see. Yeah, the one thing with this vMix thing, it doesn't give you the entire chat, so I gotta work on that. I have a friend who uses Apple Pay on his, but I can't remember which one he has. He never carries cards around with him anymore. Yeah, so Apple Pay is set up on the watch app, and then there are, I think a lot of the basic apps are on there. And then what will happen is if you have a pre-installed app, let me show you this might be a good topic to continue with here. So if you have a pre-installed app, you will have the option to install it on the watch app. So for example, like my LastPass password manager has a watch app, and because I have the phone app installed, it will then allow me to install the app there. And then you can jump into the Discover section here and find some of the other apps. I think you can go into the App Store, and that will take you into a special watch section here. But I'm pretty sure that these install the phone app, and then the watch app comes over as a result of that. So we might want to talk about that actually. So maybe I'll do that real quick. So let me see where we last left off the last clip, and then we'll pick that up. I think that's a good suggestion. So, all right, so I'm going to pick it up from here. And actually, that might be a setting I may want to look at real quick, too. Because I think, yeah, so it might default to automatic app install, which means that every phone app installs the watch app, and you may want to decide to turn that off. So let me that's a good question. Thank you for asking that, Rob. That was helpful. And I'll get to some of these other questions here in a second. So in case you're wondering, as I have there's like 1 million people in here right now, 877. Oh, we got a super chat also. So let me go back to viewer activity here. Carol Treminsky, thank you very much for your super chat. So here, let me answer this other question, and then I'll record my thing. I'm recording a video for the Extras channel right now. And the question is, was the upgrade worth it? And I did not have a high expectation for this upgrade because I was on the Series 4. However, I wanted the pulse ox thing, and so far it's worked about 80% of the time. So sort of. It's going to be more useful later. If it was doing automatic pulse ox, I would be totally on board by saying this would be a totally worthwhile upgrade. So I'm hoping they improve the pulse ox sensor. Right now, but at least I can review it. So like that to me has been the reason there. All right, so let me talk about the apps real quick. So we're going to, again, we're recording a video for the Extras channel while I am streaming to you all, in case you're curious. All right, 3, 2, 1. Now you might be wondering about apps that can be installed on the watch, and in most cases the apps on your watch are tied to an app that's on the phone, and they have a watch version of that app. Now what you'll see here on your phone's watch app is a bunch of things that are installed on your Apple Watch, and these are all apps that I have on my phone that have an Apple Watch version. And then I have additional available apps, and again, these are apps that are on my phone that also have an Apple Watch app that I haven't yet installed. And I could just go here and click the install button to add those apps to the mix. And there's a bunch of default Apple apps that will be on here. And if, for example, you wanted to turn off the hand washing thing, you could go in and set some of the settings for that. But some of these apps may not be removable. One of the things that was always bugging me on the phone was the Breathe app. So I turned the notifications off on that because it kept reminding me to breathe, and I didn't need to be reminded of that. So you might want to spend some time going through the app section here to find what you're looking for and to make sure things are working the way you expect them to. Now, if we jump back into the settings real quick, there is an option here. I gotta remember where that was now. Hang on. I want to just double check where that, yes, automatic app install. So, because I don't remember what the default settings are these days on these things, so let me just adjust one thing here real quick. And I'll play back what I just did. I just want to find the breakpoint here so I can jump back. All right, 3, 2, 1. Settings real quick, there things are working the way you expect them to. Now if we jump back into the settings real okay, so we're going to cut before that part. So let me just get rid of this. Cut before, jump back. And bear with me, I'm just making notes here. Okay. Oh, so Paul says, maybe I'm wrong about that. I thought it had to be summoned. So this is why I'm going to not do my review right away, because I want to make sure that I am correct in this. He's saying, for me at least, the watch does take oxygen levels in the background every 30 to 60 minutes, especially if you use sleep mode. So you know what? I'm gonna spend some time on that before. This is why I'm not reviewing it yet and just doing kind of the setup process. So thank you for that input there. All right. So let me go back to this screen here. And by the way, I'm using NDI to broadcast my phone over my network to my vMix software. Isn't that cool? It's amazing what we can do these days, especially for producing video. It's super, super convenient. 3, 2, 1. Now you might find that your Apple 3, 2, 1. Now you might find that you have Apple Watch apps installing automatically, and you might not want that to happen. So if you want to adjust that setting, go into the settings for your watch, go to General, and turn off automatic app install. When I first got my Apple Watch years ago, that was the default setting. I don't know if that is the case now or not, but if you're seeing a bunch of apps getting installed on your phone, you might want to disable that so you can have some more control over it. They also have a Discover section here where you can jump in and see more apps that are available for your watch. And if you hit that little icon there, it'll take you over to the App Store, and you can find things that have phone apps, but also phone apps that will link up with your watch with a custom app for that. I think that works. Again, this is the Extras channel, so I'm not doing like perfection here, just a basic setup video. So let's get rid of that one. Let's see, hang on one second here, folks. I'm just...
3, 2, 1. And you might find that you have Apple Watch apps installing automatically, and you might not want that to happen. So if you want to adjust that setting, go into the settings for your watch.
Okay. And let's just set that one up. I'm going to delete this other clip here. Sorry, you can't see what I'm looking at here. I'm just logging clips. All right, and then we still have to do that setup for the pulse ox thing. So that's next. So I'm going to rename these things in a second. App installs. So Rob Hanks has another good question here. I'm going to put this up real quick because there is something for that. So he says he works outdoors as a landscape maintenance worker, and I tend to use a lot of power tools that have a very high dB rating. Yes, there is on the watch, and I'll pull it up here for you real quick. There is a decibel thing. So this little ear icon, and it measures the decibel level in the room. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute my mic, and I'm just going to make a really loud sound. So you saw there how it just adjusted itself. So it will measure decibels, and it does it pretty accurately. I've used this occasionally, and you'd be surprised like what could be harmful to your hearing. So this was a feature that was on the last watch also on Series 5 and 4. Because this was something I used on my other watch all the time. And you know what else I like too? They added this on Series 4, was the walkie-talkie feature. And I used it a lot initially, and then we stopped using it because they disabled it for a while. But I could just do a push to talk. And like if I had something quick to tell my wife, that's another thing we've used these things for quite a bit. So I could just hit a button and it'll beep, kind of like the old Nextel phones. It works great. And it'll also, in the wallet thing here, it will also link up with your, if you're getting, not that many of us are not flying these days, but it will link up with your boarding pass, and you can use that as the barcode to get on the plane. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's a neat feature of the Apple Watch that I use quite a bit. All right, so let me go, and I'm just still sorting out my my clips here. We got a lot of people watching. By the way, if you want to check me out on Amazon, we have a link in the description that'll take you right over to Amazon's live streaming platform. I've been streaming there for almost a year now, and it's lots of fun. And we're going to be doing more stuff there and here as time rolls on here, so definitely check it out. All right, so we're going to do, I'm just looking here to see, I'm trying to get my clips organized. So we're going to say settings, so we're going to do 8, and that one's going to be 9. I number my clips.
And you might find that you have Apple Watch.
So I'm just getting my clips organized for Jake when he goes to edit this. And it's turning into a mess because I've been chatting with, I don't mind chatting with all of you. It's not that you're the problem, I'm the problem. Okay, so then we're going to have this be 11, and we're going to queue up the pulse ox sensor thing. Okay, so we're going to shoot the intro to the pulse ox thing, and then we'll go from there. So this is a good one. Jet Martin says, I guess my AC/DC would be red. Yeah, if you play it loud, it'll be red. For sure. Isn't this cool? I can do this now. I can pull your chats up. Yeah, we're going to cover, and Jarrett has a question about the sleep mode. I'm going to be covering that in the review because, and I'm going to make note of that to make sure we really talk about it. Because the sleep mode's been around for a while. And the problem that I had on my Series 4 watch was that if I used the watch all day, remember you have to wear the watch to sleep with it. So if I had the watch on all day and then I went to sleep with it on, by the time I woke up in the morning, the watch was either dead or it didn't have enough juice to get me through the next day. So that's going to be a big test of this. And right now I'm starting my experience with this watch with about 84% of the battery. So I'm going to give it a full charge. We're going to run through the whole day. The new charging apparatus on here apparently charges faster than the old one did, so that'll be something to look at as well. So we're definitely going to look at this as a sleep tracker, because that has been, for me, and some of you may disagree with this, or you may have a better strategy for it, but I like to have a full charge in the morning when I'm off and about, and I was not able to get there. So we're definitely going to be looking at that when we do the full review. Let's see, Samir has a question I don't know the answer to. He has an iPhone 6. Will Watch 6 work with my phone, or do I have to upgrade the phone? So let's look that up real quick. So Apple Watch, I think it should work with the 6. Let's take a look. iPhone compatible. I'm just doing a little Google here for you. No, so the Apple Watch 6 requires a 6S or better. So the Apple Watch 6 doesn't work on the iPhone 6, but the 6S it does work with. And the 6S is still a pretty powerful phone comparatively. And they should be relatively accessible if you're looking for one. So Jet has a good point. I could use, I could use the other watch for sleep tracking. That's a good point. Yeah, Apple would love for you to, keep using it. And actually, they didn't, like I said, they didn't offer me all that much for the trade-in, so I could maybe swap them out at night. But I think I'm going to give this to a friend of mine who I think would really get a lot of use out of it. So that's probably what I'm going to do with it. He just has to buy his own watch band. I am like Santa Claus to my friends. We got a similar question. I don't know if this is the same person, because I had somebody else on the Amazon chat ask the same question that Samir just did about the Apple Watch 6 working with the iPhone 6. And unfortunately, no, it's got to be 6S or better. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Love. That's the name of the person on the Amazon chat. It's Love. Okay, so I keep getting distracted. Okay, so we're going to go and queue up the pulse ox sensor, and then we're going to do the conclusion of this setup video. 3, 2, 1. All right, next up, let's check out the pulse ox sensor, which can measure your blood oxygen level. And where did I put that thing? Here it is. 3, 2, 1. Now, the reason why I upgraded to the Apple Watch 6 from the Series 4 that I had earlier is that it now has a pulse ox sensor built in, so I may not have to use this thing anymore to check my oxygen levels. Let's take a look and see how it works. All right, so that clip is done. And we're going to call this clip number 10. And I'm going to save that, pulse ox intro. All right, so now on the conclusion, I'm going to have to shoot 2 conclusions, because when I post videos to Amazon and to YouTube, and Amazon does not allow me to solicit comments, because they don't have a comment feature, so I have to not have my video say that. So we're going to shoot 2 conclusions, because I want people to give me comments on the YouTube side of things. So this is why, like, when I upload videos, we have to upload different versions depending on where we're going. So that's one of the little differences between Amazon and YouTube. All right, so we'll do the conclusion. 3, 2, actually, how did I end the pulse ox clip? Let's see.
3, 2, 1. And it's funny that Apple would release this without it being perfect. Now, by comparison, I've got this very low-cost finger reader here that you can get on Amazon, and this one gives me a reading every time I pop it in there. It's a little different than what we just saw. This could be the circulation going through my fingers, but this one, so they keep playing with that feature as they do new software updates.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to shoot the conclusion of the video here. And I think we'll be in good shape. We're getting a lot of viewers to this, so this is good. I'm glad so many of you are tuning in and finding this of interest. Yeah, it's fun. I have a new band also, so I didn't because my plan. So I was going to give the watch to my old one to a friend of mine, and I said, well, if I'm going to buy a new watch that comes with a band, I may as well get a different color than what I have now, because I'm not going to give my friend this ratty old band here. So I got a different color. And this one I bought at retail. So when it was funny, when the Series 4 came out, you couldn't get them. They were selling out. And this one I was able to get, I ordered it like the day it was available for sale. But they've got stock. Amazon has stock right now. And they've got like this new band that has no, like it just slips on your wrist, but you got to measure out your wrist and everything. So initially I was going to go for that one, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to print out a thing and do the measurements. So that wasn't going to work for me. So my friend who's getting this, he's going to have to get a, hope I don't have multiple friends watching. He's going to have to buy himself a band, but they're not that expensive, especially because he's getting the watch for nothing. All right, so we're going to shoot conclusion number 1, and then we're going to shoot conclusion number 2. Oops, 3, 2, 1. All right, next up, we're going to do a full review of this on the main channel, and I would love to hear from all of you as to some of the things you'd like to see in that review. At the time I'm shooting this unboxing and setup video, I was doing a live stream. I got a lot of great comments there. We're going to definitely spend some time on the sleep tracking because I know that was something of interest to a lot of you. But I'd love to hear more ideas for what you would like to see in the full review because mine is coming out a lot later than some of the other outlets that had early access to the device. So leave those comments down below. We'll try to incorporate that into the full video that will be up very soon on my main channel at Lon.TV, so stay tuned. Okay. So that's conclusion for YouTube. And now we're going to shoot a conclusion for Amazon. And then we will be done with the setup video. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, 1 second here. And we'll say YouTube conclusion. And then we'll do the Amazon conclusion. Okay. Looks like the stream is back. So we have some issues with my Comcast connection here, as many of you know. So what will happen is we'll be streaming, and then all of a sudden it just cuts out because the coax here is awful. So that is why I have that fancy fiber optic cable running into my room over there, but that cable is not yet lit up, so we got to wait until they get that all going. Christina Riato wants to see the band attached to the watch. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll take this one out and I'll show you how it attaches. So we'll take out the smaller one here. Yeah, I figured I'd get a different color, so I got the white one just to have something different. And the way it attaches, and by the way, this is the new watch with my band from the Series 4. So I think all of the Apple Watch bands are compatible no matter which version you have. And then I bought this white one here. So all you do is you just slide it in like that. And it snaps right in, and then it doesn't move, like it's in there good. And then when you're ready to remove it, there's a little button here. You just push that down and it slides back out. And I'll put your comment up on screen here so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. So we'll do it one more time so everybody can see it again. So yeah, the way this works is it goes, just slides right in, and it snaps in, and it's in. And I got to say, Apple does this kind of stuff really well. Like it feels good and solid, and it's not hard. And I'll put the other one on here too so you can see. And what they do is they give you, this is the, they give you 2 different versions depending on the size of your wrist, at least for this particular band. This is the Sport Band, which is the least expensive one. And that's the one I usually go with. I don't have a very, very big, wide wrist, so I don't use the longer one. So if you have like a big wrist, this is the one you'd want to use. Otherwise, you use the little one here. They have a little piece of plastic over the metal part. And then same thing, we just position it like so. I think it goes in that way. It goes the other way. And it just slides in. And it just has a little click, and it's good to go. I think it looks kind of nice like this, actually. So this is what it, nice little contrast there between the two. This looks more casual, you know, so this is certainly And I guess if I was more fashionable, I would get like a Milanese loop or something. And Apple's got some crazy watch bands, and there's a lot of third-party ones out now too, but they're so cool. So you could really dress it up or dress it down as you want. And like I said, I go with this is the regular one. So this is not the watch with the LTE. So the LTE version of the watch has the sapphire face, and this one has a glass face. So this glass is the same as what you'd find on your iPhone. And the result is that it's more susceptible to scratches. So you can see after 2 years, so this one I've had for 2 years, and you can see all the different scratches that it's accumulated over time. And it's like scuffed up on the corners here. And these screens will shatter. With basically the same thing that would shatter an iPhone screen would shatter one of these. But the sapphire versions, which cost a lot more, will hold up better. But again, my reasoning for this is that, unfortunately, unlike a traditional watch that's kind of a piece of jewelry, these watches do lose value because every time they come up with a new feature, the value of the old watch diminishes, especially on the resale side. So the fact that mine's all banged up and is the old one, probably not worth all that much, and that's why they were only going to offer me $10 on the trade-in. So that was it. All right, let me shoot the conclusion for the Amazon version. 3, 2, 1. And that's going to do it for this setup and unboxing video. We're going to have a full review soon, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. All right, that's the Amazon one. So we're done with the video now. So I can upload this later. And we'll call this Amazon conclusion. All right, so I got enough enough to work with there, so that's good. So we're in good shape. So let me take a few more questions, and then I'm going to call it quits and take my dog out for a walk to get I need to get my rings going here. I got to do that. And you know what else it does? It's funny, when I upgraded the Series 4 from Series 0, there was a huge amount of stuff that I got, new features added. So one of the things that I really like is that when you go and set like a workout, I don't work out. Okay, I go for walks. That's what I do. And I have a very hilly neighborhood, so I consider that a workout. And on the watch, what you can do, I'll switch back here, is I should start working out, to be honest with you. I just don't like it. I just don't like the idea of working out. So, but I need to do it because I'm getting older and I'm not able to keep weight off like I was keeping off the last 5 years. So what you can do here is you can start a workout, right? And you have different types of things that you can do. So the one that I usually do is an outdoor walk. I might take up running because I've actually gotten really good at walking. Now you can enable it here and that'll start the workout. But what the watch also does is that if it notices you're out doing an outdoor walk, what it does is it will say, hey, I noticed you're doing an outdoor walk. Do you want to enable that workout function? And you say yes. And when you have the workout enabled, it will keep a constant readout of your heart rate. And then it also keeps track of elevation. It keeps track of where exactly you went. And it pulls all that data back to your phone. So you have like a log of it in your phone after it's all over with. So it does pretty cool stuff. And I like the fact that it detects it automatically. So that's been really useful there. So I've been enjoying that. So that's one neat feature. And that does impact the battery life because it's running that heart rate sensor constantly. And this one apparently has a better, more efficient processor and a better battery. So that should give you less of a battery hit when you are doing a workout. My wife has the smaller watch, which of course has a smaller battery. She has the Series 3, and she's found it to work, better than her Series 0 did. So she does two workouts a day. And she actually does a workout. She has a trainer that she does workouts with. She does it over Zoom now. Oh, there goes my stream again. And let's see, another question here. Okay, I think we're back. This will end soon when my connection gets lit up. Like I said, it's all installed. It's in there. They just have to get something over there done, and then they can come back here and give me my equipment. Here, I'll pull up some more comments here. In case you're wondering, I'm playing around with this vMix call thing. It's been working great. And then here's a fun comment from Jet. Those crazy watch bands for $100+, but that's, yeah, Apple makes good money on this stuff for sure. They know how to do it, absolutely. T. Constantine says, I got to start working out. Yeah, I need to do more. And then Nick F. says, while you're waiting, there was a character limit for the comments when you showed us the vMix settings at the start. Oh, is there? Okay, so let me go back and see if I can adjust that. So let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm going to turn that off, and that should make it work better. So let me refresh everything. So now, yeah, so it might run past the space that I have in the thing there. So let me find a longer one here. Maybe I'll just do a really super long. I am testing a super long chat now to see if it will run past the 140 characters. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do 200 characters right to the limit here. It was like limiting to 140 characters. Really good that you caught that, because I did not see that when I was setting it up. And let's go to 100 and, here we go. Okay, so right at 200. So now if I go back to vMix here and send it, oh yeah, that fits perfectly. Perfect. Thank you for that. Jarrett Mercer really enjoys the Plex videos. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy that. And Nick is who I wanted to thank on the character limit. That fixed it, so thank you. Yes, I'm using vMix Social, and what it does is it is checking the chats as they come in, and then I can link them up. I guess OBS does this, but I haven't had something that did this before. And I use vMix because I need stability, and vMix is something you pay for. I don't have a problem with open source software, but vMix works really well. We're going to have a video actually about my whole workflow very soon that I think you'll all enjoy, so that should be kind of fun. Yeah, it's good stuff. Let me see if I missed anything down here. Robert Schrader wants to know what the IP rating is on the watch. I'll have to look that up real quick. My wife goes swimming with hers, so everything since Series 3 you can go swimming with. Let's see what the Series 6 is. It is, I'm sure somebody's going to answer this quicker than I'm going to look it up. So let's look at, they have a whole page on Apple support about the IP rating. Let's see. All right, your Apple Watch is water resistant but not waterproof. Okay, so Apple Watch Series, let's look, this is an older article. All right, so let me go back and see which one it is. IP rating chart. Apple Watch Series 6. I forgot to type in Apple Watch when I did my search here. I'm surprised they don't have like the IP rating front and center. So I'm going to check out the tech specs on the Apple Watch, and let's see if we can figure that out. They also have an Apple Watch SE, which I think is like the Series 4 or 3 watch. And I think for a lot of people, that's going to be more than fine. The big thing is the ECG and the blood oxygen level on this one, and of course the performance. I'm just trying to see if I can find... Okay, so water resistant up to 50 meters. And that is, in feet, 160 feet. So you can go swimming with it. My wife goes swimming with hers. And what will happen is when it does sense that it has water, it has a little speaker thing that it uses to blow the water out of the speaker grills here on the side. And this has been since Series 3. So those little speaker grills there, it'll just play some sound and it blows the water out. But it works good. Yeah, my wife goes swimming with hers all the time. She takes hers off just to charge it. And And John Simon points out, yeah, I can just, shrink in the title editor and the text will adjust size dynamically. Ooh, I got to play around with that. Yeah, I got some stuff that I want to do with this. And what it can also do, so what will happen here once we get my new connection going, is we're going to probably stream. I'm going to stream to the Facebook group. Maybe I'll stream to the page too. This will stream to everything because I'll have all this bandwidth. I could stream to a whole bunch of stuff. And what I'll do is probably go 4K out to, we'll go 4K out to YouTube because why not? And then, because I have 2 gigs upstream. That's crazy. David 90210, SE is based on Series 4. Well, that's a good deal then. Because I'll tell you what, the Series 4, now granted, I've spent all of an hour with this thing, so I haven't yet experienced all the performance, but I think you're going to be fine with the Series 4. And I'm guessing the SE lacks some of the sensors, right? So let's see what the SE has. The SE does not have ECG or blood oxygen, but it does have everything else. So it can do your heart rate. Oh, there goes our connection again. And it looks like my connection's starting to go again, folks, so if I lose you, I will let you know. All right. Well, everybody, it's almost 5 o'clock, and there goes the stream. And Comcast is telling me that it's time to get the hook out and pull me off stage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and take the dog out for a walk. I got to close that ring, right, because that's my motivator. Yeah, I have this love, by the way, I have this love-hate relationship with Comcast because in fairness to Comcast, after years of problems, they finally agreed just to say, all right, you know, if you're willing to pay us $300 a month, which I'm willing to do, we will bring a fiber optic cable into your house and solve all your problems. And that's what they did. And they just haven't activated the cable yet. So once it's enabled, which hopefully will be in the next 2 weeks, because it's all done. Like the hardware, the cable is in. So we just need the equipment. So we will hopefully have that resolved shortly. So that is the scoop. All right, let me see if I got a few other questions here. Yeah, it looks like I came back, so that's good. Yeah, I've been streaming through Restream.io, which has been able to keep the stream alive, which has been good. So we'll see what happens. Here's something from John Moshi, I guess in keeping with, I'll pull this up here. In keeping with the situation, TiVo Stream 4K now inserts low-cast local channels into their proprietary guide. Oh, that's interesting. And Nick F says, next time I'm in Florida, which probably will be a while before I'm in Florida again, but I do hope to get down to a space launch at some point. And I hope to get there soon. I have a friend, a former coworker of mine who was also a neighbor of mine. He lived literally like around the corner. So my dog walk, I would walk by his house all the time. He moved down to the Space Coast. So I got somebody down there. I could probably crash at his place now. So I'm excited I have a place to go. Because that's one of the things, covering the space program is very expensive because you know the launch dates always slip. So when we did the Falcon Heavy launch, this was a nightmare because we went down there and it was supposed to launch the day after we got down there. It took like an extra 2 or 3 days. And you know, we went to Disney World, we had a lot of fun. But my friend that came with me to help me out, here's the thing, I got this American Express card and it automatically upgrades you to the next car. So I am I'm frugal at everything. I had rented the Volkswagen. We get there and they pull out the thing to upsell me and I never get upsold. But my friend who's with me, he's like, what's that yellow thing? So they had a Camaro, right? Yellow Camaro, looked really cool. And the guy's like, this is when I knew he got us because he's like, oh, you can upgrade to the Corvette for the same price as the Camaro. And that's all my friend needed to hear. So we ended up getting this Corvette Stingray, which, by the way, if you're going to NASA, that's like the car to get. I'll have to find the picture of it. It was a really hot car. Because remember, the astronauts all drove Corvettes. So we had this awesome Corvette. The problem is that it had to be back on a certain day to the Orlando airport. And if it wasn't back by then, you know, you're paying like full rate. And so I almost got screwed on that one because we had to stay an extra day. I had to bring the car back and then get another one. It was such a nightmare. It is not easy to rent cars. It really isn't. And normally, like when I travel now, I'll either take a taxi or Uber because why rent a car if you don't need to? But you can't Uber to NASA because you can't drive a car that's not authorized to be on the property. So you can't have somebody drive you there. And the gate is like 4 or 5 miles from where you go to watch. So you can't just get dropped off at the gate and walk in. You'll be walking all day. So it's crazy. Let me just pull up this comment here from Icebachlex. So the question, we move over to Verizon Fios. Unfortunately, I can't because we don't have it here. So my only internet service provider where I am is Comcast. So that's why I'm paying $300 a month. But I'm getting 2 gigabits per second. So that is why I am okay paying that much. And it's going to save me, it's not going to save me money, but it's going to save me time. And for me, time is money. And it's money because it's my time. So just to give you a perfect example, yesterday, I was uploading pretty much all day yesterday because I do different versions of things. We send stuff to Amazon, to Plex, to everything else. So I'm uploading. Jake is logged in uploading here as well. So if we are spending all this time uploading, I'm not able to do other things. So we're going to be going from an upload taking, YouTube's fine because you can set it and forget it, but some of the other things I send to, I have to be watching it. So an upload that now takes 45 minutes will take about 2 or 1. So that's a huge change. And I was very far ahead on content this week, so I've had a bunch of stuff that I was uploading. And then just the other stuff, like we'll be able to do more streaming, have more reliable connection. It's just going to be good. I'm going to look at also going to Floatplane because I can. You know, we haven't been uploading to more places because it's just taking so long to upload, you know. So that'll help out quite a bit. All right, everybody. Well, I am going to go take the dog for a walk. And if you have things that you want for me to cover in the full review of the new Apple Watch, this is the old one, leave those in the comments section. I'll find them when I go back later and look for some of the ideas for my notes. We're definitely going to look at the sleep function because I know that's going to be important to a lot of you. And anything else that you would like to see, please let me know. And I will definitely incorporate some of that into the video. And I'm probably going to do it from the standpoint, I'm trying to figure out if it should be like a should you upgrade video. It probably will be. I might just cover some of the sensors that are different, you know, some of the more advanced stuff, and just kind of give my overall impressions of it. Maybe it might be like a look back, like why I use an Apple Watch. That could be. And, you know, to some degree, the Apple Watch is kind of like a way of locking you in permanently to the Apple ecosystem because I do believe, some of you may disagree, but I have to say there's 2 things that I think Apple is leading the industry with. One is pen input. I think the Apple Pencil on the iPad is unmatched. It is amazingly good. And I think the Apple Watch is probably the best, in my opinion, the best wearable on the market. And to some degree, it's keeping me locked in. I would say, though, I like the Withings stuff because it's a simplistic thing. If you haven't seen the Withings watches, they're analog dials. They have some smart features integrated, but they're not too crazy. And the battery lasts for a month on it between charges. So it's good for sleep tracking and that sort of thing. Android Wear is good. I haven't seen, though, like we're not seeing the plethora of choices on Android Wear like we used to. So we'll see what we have there. All right, so here's a question from Sam on price, and we can talk about that briefly here. Is $500 a lot for an Apple Watch Series 6? It is. However, what you want to look for is the non-LTE version. So the watches that I usually buy are the basic ones, the base model, and those will run you $400 or less. So it's still a lot. They have the SE now, which is, I think, a very good watch. It just doesn't have the oxygen or the ECG sensor, but that might be worth considering too. So we'll see where it goes from there. And NH, here, I have to answer some of these questions because I know people are curious about these things. NH is asking about the Flowbee video. I haven't done the Flowbee video, and I'll explain why. I was about to do the Flowbee video because my hair got very long. And then my daughter's preschool buddy, his mother started a cut your hair house call thing. So she's a professional hair person, and she comes to you and does your hair outside on your porch. So she started that business right when I was about to hit the Flowbee thing. And what happened on the Flowbee thing was that I'm still working on this. I wanted to get the inventor of the Flowbee to join me and walk me through it, and they haven't responded to me yet. But I think that would be a lot of fun. So we might do the Flowbee and have my new hair person help me with that. So we'll see what they do there. Jet Martin really loves the Samsung. I got to look at those because they are not based on Android Wear. They're on Tizen, and I think Samsung is competitive there. And I just don't know enough about those watches to comment. So I probably should be careful in saying this is the best on the market when I haven't tried the Samsung one. But we'll have to take a look at that. Here's a good comment from Harry. Yeah, he has a Series 0, works still, but very slow, and it is. So here's the thing. If you were to go to, and just check out like the speed on this one. If you were to go from your watch to this one, it's going to be like night and day. And look how fast this is. It's just like, everything loads up quickly. And I went from the Series 0 to the Series 4. And that was a huge jump. Like even the calculator took a long time to load up on the original watch. But here it's a lot quicker. Even stuff where it has to go out to the phone and pull down data, like it's doing here, it's super quick. So you're going to see a huge uptick no matter which one you get. Like even if you went to the SE, which is the lowest cost version, you would see a huge change in your love of the watch. It is really good from that jump, especially. And that's why it's funny because that was like a 3-year gap from me because I went from Series 0 to Series 4. This does not feel like a big change. Like it feels a little faster. So I think the differences for me are going to be more subtle. And again, the reason why I would have actually, if this one didn't have the pulse oximeter or some other health sensor that I thought was interesting, I wouldn't have upgraded because the 4 I was perfectly happy with. And we'll see how this one does. Robert wants to know if I've reviewed any of the Fitbits. I did own a Fitbit for a while. I had the original one, but I haven't looked at the newer ones. So I should probably look at those at some point too. You know what happens is you get into having the watch on, and then like, if for me, this is the biggest thing, is that when I find a product that solves my problem, I stop looking at the new ones, and I need to expand my horizons a little bit on some of those things. But you know, it's like, oh, I found the perfect thing for me, and I'm so happy with it. Like I've had no reason to look at anything else. So I think if they had a loaner model or wanted me to do a short-term review or something, I would totally check it out, and I probably should. I will say though that yeah, I will probably see them at some show once we have shows again, and I'll try to get one of those in. So we'll check that out. Yeah, I'm going to try the Samsung one too. And that's the other thing. I have a hard time getting, so here's the other problem that I run into is that I have a hard time getting some of these products that are heavily reviewed in other places. So it's hard for me to get a lot of that stuff in. And I'm not talking about getting it for free. Even just on loan, it's hard to get that stuff. And so this time of year, I end up buying a lot of things. So I bought the watch because I'm going to use it. Siri is going on here. So I bought the watch. I bought the new Oculus headset, like a bunch of stuff that I am interested in, I bought. But if it's, again, because this has solved my problem, like I don't often buy things that I'm not interested in, if that makes sense. And I should do more of that. It's just hard. So, all right. Oh yeah, Shulis points out, and this is a good point, these sensors are nothing new. They've been in phones for a while. So his S9 phone has a pulse ox, and I think Samsung's been doing that for a while. I think even some of the earlier ones were doing that. Spock wants to know what the battery life is on the new watch. I'm not sure. They say it's better, but we'll find out. I was actually happy with the battery life on my Series 4. I have never had the battery run out on me. In fact, most days I was ending the day, you know, with 50% or better. But oddly, I could never get through the night on the sleep tracking. You know, or if I did, it was like super dead by the morning. So in many cases, I could go 2 days on a single charge with the Series 4. But you know, as it gets older, the battery life diminishes. So we'll see where it goes. Jet says with 282, you know what the biggest problem, the biggest challenge is that, and I talked about this earlier, one of the big challenges that I have in getting stuff is that a lot of these companies don't know where I fit. So, and I say that because I have a very hard time with the current status of influencer marketing, if you call it that, in that there's a lot of people on the take, and the companies often consider my space, this space, influencer space, they consider it to be a marketing function and not a PR function. So the PR people at these companies get it, but they typically deal with much larger publications. So even though I'm at 282,000, there's 37,000 people just like me out there that are, that are of equal size asking for this stuff. And what they want is, on the PR side, they're judged, did you get placed in The Verge and all these other large publications, not so much on the YouTube side. And some companies approach it differently. So for example, like I'll give credit to Dell, HP, and Lenovo. They've all been providing loaners, and Lenovo has been providing loaners to us for a long time. Dell and HP are a little more recent. So the PCs are easier to get. And what's nice is that because my niche is not covering the top end all the time, I'm able to get more of the mid-range PCs in. But on things like a Samsung watch or something that's very highly reviewed and popular, it's hard for me to get stuff. And on the Apple stuff in particular, when the new iPhone comes out, I'll review it. I'll get no traffic on it because everybody reviews it, so it's hard. And that's why I try to look for the things that a lot of reviewers aren't looking for. So that's tricky. And I have this question from Christopher, who says, would love to see a review of the Oculus Quest 2. Yeah, I ordered one, so I should be getting it. I was so excited because it's 90 hertz, right? And it has the PC Link feature. Unfortunately, at launch, it's not going to support 90 hertz through PC Link, which is a bummer because you've got the added resolution. It has the frame rate now, but apparently that frame rate is going to be there, but not heavily used just yet. So we'll have to see where it goes. So Capuro Frito says, was the version 5 worth to, I think if you can find the version 5 watch, go for it, because the only difference here is maybe slightly better performance in the pulse ox sensor, but if you don't need those two things, the 5 is going to be fine. I got my wife a Series 3 when I got the Series 4 because she didn't need the ECG. So we'll have to see where it goes. And yes, Christopher, I did get the Oculus 2. John wants to know good communication skills. You know what I found is that with this business, especially the YouTube thing, is if you watch yourself enough, you know where you need to improve. So I go back to my old stuff and cringe, and I know I'll cringe when I go to the stuff that I'm doing now 5 years from now, and it's just a constant thing. And I think what I found with this business is that the more you watch, the more you improve, and you have to be comfortable watching yourself to say, ooh, that was awful. And I think it's also helpful to know that you're not the best at everything, and I'm not. And so I'm always looking to improve, and I'm always looking at, oh, I could have done that better, I could have done that better. And that's kind of the key to all of it. And I'm not a very extroverted person. I'm like when you do those Myers-Briggs tests, I'm like right in the middle. So, but I just like to network with people. I like to get to meet people. I really miss the show season, which is like PepCom and CES and all those things that I go to all the time, because you get to go out and interface and meet other creators, meet people at these companies, develop those relationships. And that's really, from getting the loaner products, like that's how I've been able to get them, is that I go to these shows and I meet these people. And I'm very blessed that I'm close to New York because I can go to all the shows in New York whenever there's something going on. And I learned this from my dad. He's like, whenever you get invited to something, just go. And so that's been my philosophy throughout life, is that if you get invited to something, go. Even if it's inconvenient, if we're going to require you to get on a plane or a train or whatever, just do it and go. And I've had some trips where I've gone and I'm like, why am I here? This was a stupid thing to do. But you know what? You meet people everywhere and you never know. And what I love is that what I've done on Facebook and LinkedIn is I try to connect with people. LinkedIn's great for that because you're not looking creepy connecting on LinkedIn. And what's funny is you get in your head like a little database, and it's weird. Like somebody will ask me, hey, do you know somebody that knows? I'm like, I do, as a matter of fact. And I've got stories from like, these connections that you make. It's just so funny how it works. So yeah, it's just, it's good to do that. And then it's really good to do the follow-up and get going there. And then Jet makes a good point here, which is that you need a natural sense of curiosity. And I think that's ultimately, like, what I love about what I do is that I'm constantly learning something new. And that's what's been so fun about this fiber optic installation is I've never been around fiber optics before in this way. And so I was observing the where the infrastructure was around my immediate environment. And from that, I was able to discern that I should be able to get this service. And then I went after them for that, and they finally did it. And then when they came in, I was really just, it was amazing just to watch the process of splicing. You got to watch my weekly wrap-up video. The process of splicing the cable together, all that stuff was really, really neat. And speaking of Comcast, they're killing me again here. They're telling me it's time to stop because my stream is breaking up again. So that is going to do it. Hopefully it comes back here so I can say goodbye, but maybe not. And yep, this is when it totally poops the you-know-what. So if I come back, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. We'll see if it comes back here. I don't know if it's going to do it because we are dropping out. All right, everybody. Oh, looks like I'm back long enough. Okay, so that is going to conclude this stream. I'm going to say goodbye to the folks on Amazon. Thank you all for tuning in. And we're going to wrap up here on YouTube now. And I appreciate everybody stopping in. The comments were really helpful, everybody, especially in putting my notes together, because I have a bunch of good ideas for the review. So yeah, so we'll be back. And I appreciate you all greatly. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to go walk the dog, get my rings built up, and then cook some dinner and hang out with the family later this evening because they're all at the beach at the moment. So they're trying to get in as much beach time. They're not like in the water beach, but they're hanging out at the beach. It's getting chilly here. So, all right, everybody, we'll catch you all soon. Have a good evening, and I'll be back very soon. So set your notifications because you never know when I might pop up. Amazon's a good way to follow me now, too. So click the link in the description, and there's a follow on there. And when I pop up on Amazon, you can actually watch me through the Amazon app. And we're always linking this up with the stuff that we're doing there. So, all right, everybody, I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for watching as usual.